welcome to Doors and Corners, a sci-fi and fantasy film commentary podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Zach. And every Friday we sit down and watch a science fiction or fantasy film and give our 2 cents on its quality, production, story, and trivia.
We watch the film together, but without sounds or visuals provided to avoid copyright issues. But if you do have access, we encourage you to join us and follow along.
Here, we like to keep things casual, and there may be discussions of spoilers or sensitive materials or language. But we do try and keep things clean and family-friendly. Ultimately, the goal of this podcast is to create the experience of us all sitting down and watching this movie together.
So get ready to hit that play button, because we're about to get started.
Damn doors and corners, that's where they get you.
Welcome back to Doors and Corners. I'm Brian.
I'm Zach, and tonight we are going to boldly go to the end of Star Trek.
Yeah, we're wrapping up next-gen films with Nemesis, with that backwards E in the title to be edgy. I
forgot about the backwards E.
Yeah, it's this movie. I remember. So I don't think he's ever listened to this podcast, but one of my oldest friends, named Sean. If you ever do listen to this, love you, Sean. You're an awesome man. He and I went and saw this in the theater because he's not like a Trekkie, but he enjoys science fiction, and he's like, yeah, let's go, because this is 2002, I think, right?
Yeah.
So I was pretty newly married. I turned 20 that year, and was I was mixed on the premise of this film. I remember this is one of the first Star Trek movies that there was enough of an internet at this point that I kind of was following the stories leading up to it. I mean, because 2002, so this is like Lord of the Rings were happening. Remember, like the One Ring Net or whatever, and there was a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and there was.
I was 11.
That's, oh my gosh. Sometimes I forget. Okay, this was some of the earliest examples of online news sites, because there wasn't, you didn't have a lot of your classic, your Screen Rants. IGN existed, but it wasn't big into movies. It's totally in games. Collider wasn't around. I think there was like I'm not even trying to guess. Anyways, but there were news articles coming out about this is who they got the guy that wrote Gladiator, and this is Brent Spiner is like really involved in this story this time, and they got this kid who's an amazing actor, named Tom, Hardy to play the clone of like young Picard, and it was, because at this point Tom Hardy was a nobody, but it was like I kind of knew about it going in. We knew that Insurrection hadn't really hit it out of the park, right? There was, was there even going to be another movie? And this was like, all right, let's give him one last shot. I remember the articles about talking about like a Starfleet Academy, some kind of like relaunch. Let's do a young crew, which eventually they went and did in 2009, obviously, kind of a reboot of the entire thing. Even though that wasn't strictly a Starfleet Academy movie, it definitely, it features Starfleet Academy. And that it was like, all right, we're going to give the next gen crew one more shot at a film. And I remember even back when this came out, going to the theater and being like, I don't know, man. I wasn't as excited. And to be fair, this was also, Star Trek was waning. Like, it really was. Like, you had, I think Voyager had wrapped up. We had Enterprise.
Voyager had wrapped up by this time.
Yeah, Enterprise, I think, was halfway through. Or, there was just,
Enterprise hadn't really... Enterprise hadn't launched in 2000, right?
I think Enterprise was like 1 or 2 seasons in. Enterprise was definitely on the air, but it wasn't done. But there was this sense that like Star Trek had lost some of that 90s excitement of just, starting with Next Gen and DS9 and Voyager, and Star Trek 6 was good, and Generations, as much as it had its flaws, was still exciting in theaters, and First Contact was so good. Like, there was that 90s peak Star Trek, and you just could tell we were kind of wrapping, kind of winding down. And it was an odd time, because I was excited to see this movie because I love these characters and I love the universe, obviously, but it was the first time I remember going to see Star Trek in the theaters, and I was like apprehensive. I was like I was happy to go see the movie, but I wasn't, like, even before I saw it, I was already. So when this movie was what it was. I remember going and just getting dinner or something afterwards, and again, my buddy Sean, who's he likes Star Trek, he's seen most of Star Trek, and we were chatting, and he's like, I gotta tell you, Brian, I didn't really like that too much. And I'm like, I hate to say it, it wasn't one of those movies that like you kind of have. It's not like Episode 1, right, of Star Wars, where you walk out of the theater on like the high of the Darth Maul fight, and you kind of like it takes you a little bit of time to realize that it's just was kind of lacking. This is one of those movies that you just immediately knew, like, it missed. It just wasn't quite. And there's a lot of issues with this film, as we'll go through it.
You
but
had with Star Trek Into Darkness, seeing it with Jen,
where
you walked out and you're both like, that wasn't very good, was it?
Well, no, so I'm not sure if I've told this story. I'll briefly tell the story. Jen never saw Into Darkness in the theaters. I went and saw Into Darkness. Jen and I weren't married when Into Darkness came out. We got married in 2013.
I'm thinking of Last Jedi.
Yeah, So next time,
Jedi, Into Darkness, they're interchangeable.
They are.
For several bad reasons.
Next time we have Natasha on, which I think we're going to get her on for a Pixar movie next year, but she can tell you all about my very immediate reactions to Last Jedi. Anyways, this movie though, Into Darkness, I went and saw it by myself. I knew I was going to struggle with it because, as we've hinted at many times, and we'll go into much more depth next year, I never have loved the JJ universe, and you and I disagree on this, and that's totally fine. Those will be good episodes because we won't agree on stuff, and those are actually good episodes, so I'm not mad about that at all. But I knew I was going to not love it, and I just kind of like, I just want to go see this, and I just want to sit by myself, and I just want to watch this and see what they do. And I was like, maybe I'll be surprised. Maybe it'll be what I fear. Because at that point, everybody knew it was going to be Khan. There was no, like, a lot of the, crap about that movie had already come out. And I walked out just like, I walked out of that movie kind of angry almost. I was just like, they just hit my puppy, like I'm mad about that. I'm still mad about that movie, which that'll be a good episode. But this movie, I wasn't mad at this movie. It was just like, there are, and we'll talk about it as we record, there are a lot of things about this movie that I think are interesting ideas, and there are some good performances, and this cast is still wonderful to watch do their thing, but this movie makes so many small mistakes, along with a few bigger ones, that just collectively just tank it. And I'm curious, because when did you see this movie? Like, what was the context when you finally saw this?
So I didn't get to see this in theaters. I was 11 years old, and one of the big things about this is that my dad was kind of following the production because everybody was just like, "Ooh, this is going to be the final next gen," which apparently wasn't even the plan when they were initially in pre-production.
Nah, it was just let's see what happens.
They still wanted to do one more. They wanted it to. It was supposed to be Brent Spiner's swan song. That was supposed to be the whole thing. He was 53 years old. He knew he couldn't keep playing Data, and he needed to kill Data. That was the whole thing, and which is why he was so heavily involved in the production. And we knew two things going into this movie. One, somebody was going to die. My dad instantly knew it was Data. Like,
yeah,
we all knew. And we were like, wanted him to tell us who is it that's going to die. And he was just like, I'm not telling you. I'm not spoiling it. But he knew. And I don't know if that's because it was leaked or because he just figured it out because he's a smart guy. And the other thing we knew, there was going to be a sex scene in a Star Trek. This was before, I forgot about that. This was before T'Pol's butt in bareback scene in season 3 of Enterprise. The most sexual thing Star Trek had ever done was Troy's dress in that one episode, or the antibacterial lotion in the first episode of Enterprise,
and those butterfly eating strippers or whatever on the alien planet. Yeah, Enterprise was a horny show. No, what's funny? I literally just rewatched this.
Rick Berman. Okay.
Yeah, and I had forgot when I saw that scene with Riker and Troy. Even watching this last week, I forgot that was like a big deal at the time because it's such a tame scene by any modern standards. So. Mm-hmm.
So we knew it was going to be violent. We knew there was going to be sex. We knew that somebody was going to die. So I didn't get to see it in theators. I was 11 years old. I wanted to see it. Wait, was I 11 or was I 12? Because
2002, you were born in 92, right?
I had just turned 12. Like it was less than a month after I turned
Wait a
12.
minute. You were born
And,
in 90 then, right?
91.
91. Okay.
So I
That's right. This was like late in the
I
year.
was
This
just
was like
turning
November,
11. I'm
wasn't it?
sorry. I was just turning 11.
Yeah, but this
Right,
is the end of
91.
the year, right? This is like November this came out?
12, 13.
Okay. Oh, wow, this is like a
Because
Christmas
we
movie.
had this thing where our family would always go see a movie on the 18th, okay, of December. I don't know why, but that was the thing. And I thought we were all going to go see Star Trek, and I didn't get to go see Star Trek.
What did
And
you
I
see
remember being
instead? Do
really
you remember?
disappointed at that. I don't remember, no. But
Curious what else came out that time.
yeah, and it was probably Two Towers.
Oh, yeah, of course.
No, it was Two Towers.
I mean, that's not a bad. I would rather see Two Towers than this movie.
Right? But because, oh my god, dude, this December was stacked. Like,
So
this
I just pulled it up.
This was a crazy time for movies. All right.
Yeah, Equilibrium came out this
at-
year. Equilibrium was
Okay,
out at the beginning of December this year.
Equilibrium was out. Okay, but think about this time of year. We had Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers, Catch Me If You Can, Die Another Day was still in theaters, and so
Yeah.
was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah, some big movies.
Like, there was some insane movies that were still in theaters. Also, even though it didn't make a lot of money, Treasure Planet was still out at that time, and that was a big deal. And
Santa Claus
there were a few
2
others.
was a big deal.
Time.
Also, those movies were still very. I'm just saying it was a big movie, made a lot of money.
But either way, I was really excited to see this movie, and it was the same thing that I remember I explained when we were watching Batman '89, where I remember thinking, or Batman '89, and I was describing it with First Contact, where I thought that my parents held the first one as the gold standard. I thought that the Generations was the one that they were comparing all of them to. So I thought that this was just going to be the new greatest movie. And I was so excited. And it had a whole bunch of action. It had cool ship fight. I liked cool ship fights. So when I finally saw it, I was enamored with it. I was like 11 years old, right? 10 years old. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so great. Oh no, Data died. It's so sad. This is like the best Star Trek movie ever, right, Dad? And he's like, no.
No. You are
like,
wrong.
Literally, that was like an exchange that we had. And so it wasn't for several years because I kind of ignored Star Trek. For a while, I decided I was a Star Wars guy. And a lot of that was Revenge of the Sith. Knights of the Old Republic, which came out in 2002. I started playing it around 2004. Knights of the Republic, the Sith Lords, the Clone Wars TV series. Enterprise was trash and everybody knew about it. And it wasn't until actually you in particular, we were talking about Star Trek. I knew that I liked Star Trek. I liked Voyager. I kept up with it through like the Elite Force games and Star Trek Bridge Commander, and the video game world was really big for me in that.
Yeah.
But I never went back and rewatched Deep Space Nine or Next Generation or any of that. I caught occasional reruns of Voyager. And then I watched Enterprise. I started watching the later seasons, and I rented the DVDs of Enterprise's other seasons. I finally got to watch it. And I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty good. And right around 2009, 2010, and part of this was the JJ Star Trek influence, I got into a Star Trek mood, and I became a little fiend for Star Trek. And again, part of that was your influence, and us talking about Mass Effect when you came down for Dan's wedding.
Yep.
And so I rewatched all that, like, a couple times. And that's when I realized, because I was just really getting into movies post Dark Knight, I started becoming like a movie person.
Aww.
And I watched Nemesis and I went, oh damn.
Yeah, it's not good.
Like that's because I had it in my head that this was the best one for some reason.
Even more than First Contact at that point? You had this higher than First Contact?
I hadn't watched it like I preferred First Contact because I liked the action more.
Yeah.
So I would always watch First Contact and thinking, "Oh, what a great movie! I wish that it was held in as high esteem as Generations and Nemesis." Because I wasn't online.
Yeah.
I was living in the sticks. I was
Oh
in
gosh.
cool
That's
California.
right. You were probably still
Um,
on dial-up at that point, right?
I think we had like DSL,
All right.
but
Yeah.
I finally got to watch this, and I'm like, "Oh, this kind of
Yeah.
sucks." And then I actually did research on it, and I'm like, oh, now I'm sad. And I'm really sad that it didn't do well in the box office, even though it didn't necessarily deserve to, because I really wanted to see Jonathan Frakes' Star Trek 11, which would have brought in characters from Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Next Generation for a final swan song to send them off. Because I bet that would have been good.
Yeah, it's we talked about this I think briefly last week. It's just sad that Insurrection in this, because I think that as much as I have a soft spot for Generations, it's not a good movie either. The fact that Next Gen really only got one banger, and the original crew had, I think, undisputably 3, and I would consider it 4, along with a soft spot for motion picture, and Next Gen just for being such a great cast and so many good seasons. I mean, seasons 3 through 6 are so good. And season 7's got some good ones, and 1 and 2 have some good ones also. But you know what I mean? Like, just that their movie run was so is rough. It was just rough. And
the fact that this didn't have as good, like, they didn't get as good of a movie run as the others. It's just so sad.
Yeah, and yeah, and it also it
then
is.
The other ones didn't even get movies.
Yeah, but to say
where was
think
the Voyager movie?
Yeah, I really think that this Insurrection in this, just because there absolutely was at the time. Again, I know you weren't. You said you weren't online. There absolutely was talk. There was talk about, and not just like fans wanting it. Like there was studio talk. Rick Berman talking about, oh, this is what what we could do for DS9 or Voyager. I mean, it never went beyond just interviews, but it was absolutely a consideration that both both DS9 and Voyager would also. It was almost assumed for a little while, especially after First Contact. Well, yeah, these are all big popular shows, and when they wrap up, they'll get a movie or two, and we'll just keep going. And of course, it's not what happened
this
at
was
all.
the Star Trek tradition.
Yeah, So,
but alas, 'twas not.
because this, let's just get into it, because I do have a lot of thoughts, but this is 2 hours long, and I think this movie has some really slow parts. We'll have plenty of time to talk, so let's get into it. Why don't you give us the those IMDb facts, and then we will start watching this sucker.
IMDb tales. This is Star Trek Nemesis, or Nemesis, or however you want to read the weird backwards E. 2002, rated PG-13, 1 hour and 46 minutes long. I'm sorry, I can hear my wife hiccuping right now from upstairs, and it's pathetic and hilarious. Directed by Stuart Baird, the quintessential devil in these matters. Written by John Logan, Rick Berman, and it says the credits Gene Roddenberry, but just characters based on creatures.
Yeah.
Goodness sake. Top cast, of course, being Patrick Stewart, Jonathan Frakes, Brent Spiner, LeVar Burton, Michael Dorn, Marina Sirtis, Gates McFadden, Tom Hardy, Ron Perlman, and Dina Meyer. And oh my god,
I did not recognize her at first. Ron Perlman. Dina Meyer. It took me a second to remember, like, because I recognized like her eyes, but she was like in Starship Troopers. I mean, she's famous with nerds for a reason, and if you know, you know.
Reasons.
But and she had done some other stuff also.
Well, we've actually watched a movie with her in it, Dragonheart.
That's right. That's right, Dragonheart. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I poor Gates. She got nothing.
And Michael Dorn.
And yeah, they just, I mean, he got to ride around on the back of the dune buggy, firing a phaser rifle. That's about the most exciting thing he got. The fact that he never got to fight a Riemann is kind of sad, right?
I know. Like, there's so many. I'll actually say that the elevator pitch for this movie isn't terrible.
No. There's
There's a lot of like good build up in this movie for unsatisfying conclusions.
yeah, there's this movie has moments. It really does.
Mhm.
Although this movie also too, I don't know what it is, but there is a strange desire in the next gen movies. I feel like specifically to just beat the crap out of the Enterprise. Uh,
That's a problem that they've been having for years. Okay, they need to beat the crap out of the hero ships because it's just like we need to show how strong this enemy is by beating up the Enterprise and just like
so,
literally all three of the JJ
oh yeah,
um
oh the Enterprise gets
JJ ones do this
trashed in all this until it
three
gets
times in
destroyed.
a row.
Yeah, I had a quick thought, and I want to keep this somewhat brief because we want to get into this. But I was talking to Jen about this, and I'm curious what you think. And this is a semi-formed thought, so I don't have all the conclusions. The worst thing that can happen to a franchise that has a banger first film is a banger sequel. Almost
Mhm.
without fail, it kind of ruins the franchise. It doesn't ruin the franchise. It kind of ruins all the follow-up movies. There are some rare exceptions, but if you have like a really good first movie and then you nail a sequel, you are almost like the weight of that 1-2 out of the gate hangs around the neck of every movie done after. Even if you get like an okay one later, there's still just this is all because it always ends up being you're trying to recapture that, oh, you're like, because most good sequels do, and this is a loaded phrase in the nerd circles of, subvert expectations. When that's done correctly, I agree with it, by the way. Ryan Johnson be damned. It just can be done poorly. And so you either want to go with that and capture that magic again. How many times are we going to hear, oh, this is like our Empire Strikes Back? Like, shut up. Do not invoke that. Do not talk about that. Do not use that as any kind of like stop it. And the same thing with, oh, we want to recapture the spirit of the original. Some phrase like that. And like, stop it. Don't like do and it's because this movie absolutely
Beat them with a newspaper like they're a dog.
Yeah, it is like stop it. That is a cardinal sin as a writer. Do not try to capture anything about this. Use them as guides, use them as inspirations, continue the stories, reference what these characters have gone through if you're going to take them somewhere new. Of course, I'm not saying ignore them, but I mean like Alien, Terminator, Star Wars has struggled with it to a certain extent. Star Trek, even, I mean, as much as there have been fantastic films post Wrath of Khan, Wrath of Khan is both such it's I said this during our podcast, that episode, it is my favorite film ever made. That movie is it. I could spend 2 hours talking about how special the movie is. I did, in fact. You can go listen to it. But it also is one of the worst things that happened to Star Trek because people keep trying to do it again. People keep trying to capture elements of it again. And it's like, stop it. I mean, they even tried to get Nicholas Meyer to come in and do this movie. And he was like, well, I'll only do it if I have creative control. And they had already, told John Logan that they would use his script and Brent Spiner. And it's like, I actually wonder what would have happened if he'd come back. But anyways, in broad strokes, what do you think of that idea?
No, I agree. I think that there's charm in hearkening back to the old ones, especially the really strong ones like Wrath of Khan or Empire Strikes Back. But when you try and recapture what they did, it ends up you get stuck in the mold. And you see, doing something like First Contact, that really worked because it essentially was their Wrath of Khan in that they took the ideas of Wrath of Khan and they inverted them so that it wasn't Khan who was obsessed. They turned it was a Moby Dick story, but they turned Khan from being Captain Ahab to now Picard was Captain Ahab.
Yeah.
Where this movie tries to recapture the villain of Wrath of Khan. Oh, it's a familiar character in the form of it's Picard's clone, and somehow he got lip injections. But it's like he's obsessed with Picard, and he will go to any length unto his death in order to kill Picard and kill everything he loves in the Federation and Earth. Yada yada yada. And it what it does is I personally don't necessarily think it's the writers who do this. I think that it's production studios who's like, hey, that thing was really good and they loved that. Just
Oh
try
yeah.
and redo that.
Oh,
And
I blame studio heads
they
just as much as writers, but yeah, no, they're very much at fault also.
I just think that they were stuck, and when they get obsessed with trying to recapture what made the previous ones great, um they're gonna always fall short
Yeah.
as much as because and that's such a it's such a double-edged sword. It's such a catch-22 because you do want what made the originals great, but you also want to take it in a new direction. That's one of the reasons why, like, no matter what, The Force Awakens was going to be in trouble. No matter what, the 2009 Star Trek was going to be in trouble because you can't recapture what made the other ones great and go boldly into a new direction without compromise.
Yeah.
And so they're inherently compromised. And some of them can do it really well. But unfortunately, most of the time they end up failing.
Yeah.
And this is one of those times when they were trying to invoke the spirit of Wrath of Khan, and they ended up invoking the spirit of a bad two-parter.
Yeah. And I'll also say really fast about John Logan, and I don't have his whole filmography up in front of me. I actually don't. I don't know how you feel about Gladiator. I love Gladiator. It's a movie that I enjoy very much, but that movie is not good because of its writing. That script,
no,
and
okay.
actually, I know that I've seen in interviews that Russell Crowe is like, "Oh, the script was trash," and we basically kind of made it up as we went. That is a movie that the performances and the vibe elevated way beyond its material.
Yes. Okay, so that's one of the things, all right? This guy, John Logan, he wrote Gladiator. He wrote The Last Samurai.
Oh,
He
that's
wrote
actually a good movie.
Sweeney Todd and Rango and Hugo and Skyfall and Spectre
Oh,
and
Spectre's bad.
Michael.
Oh,
The
really?
new,
Like the one that just
like,
came out?
the highest earning biopic of all
Yeah.
time.
That actually
Though that doesn't
wasn't
mean much
horrible.
with
I
today's
saw that in
inflation.
theaters.
But well, Alien Covenant, the writing isn't what failed Alien Covenant. It was the directing, and I'll stand by that. But like Spectre, again, the writing didn't fail that. The writing of the actual movie, I didn't like what they did with Blofeld, but the actual lead up and everything, there was some really clever stuff that happened, and a lot of it was the unfortunately very boring direction. And
Which is so
you
odd
could
because
find
it
on that all
was
you want.
Sam Mendes again. It's like it's funny how you can get a director that can just nail it, but also just miss it sometimes.
But this guy, he's got talent. But you're absolutely right about Gladiator. Gladiator was a crap show behind the scenes. The script was unfinished. They were constantly rewriting and reshooting on the day. The original script called for, this man who's grieving over the death of his family to start hooking up with this girl. And Russell Crowe said that he refused to do it. I don't know how true that is, but he said that he refused to do it. And the whole thing was just a crap show behind the scene.
Yeah.
Obviously, Logan is a talented writer, but his best movies come after Nemesis.
Yeah. I think that he got this, and what the story is, I think Spiner met him doing something in like New York after, like met him,
Yes,
and
they
then
were doing a play together.
That's right, and then like Gladiator, became.
Won the Oscar.
Won the Oscar. It was a huge film that year. I mean, I saw it 2 or 3 times in theaters, and he was brought on, and yeah, I don't disagree. I didn't realize his whole list. I just know that Gladiator. If you were telling me, oh, we got the writer from Gladiator, I'd be like, that's not a brag, dude. That's not like, as much as I love that movie, that is not what you bring up about that movie to brag about. Anyways, but let's get into this. Like I said, we're gonna have plenty of time to talk. If you are listening to this on a podcast service, or you're one of those weird people that listen to audio only stuff on YouTube, which that's fine. It's just all right. But
there are dozens of us.
If there are quite literally dozens, but if you are, we really appreciate you being here. If you want to tap the little thumbs up or stars or whatever on whatever podcast or streaming service you're listening to us on, we would really appreciate it. And if you have any comments or input for us, we would love to hear from that also. I do check those and try to make sure I reach out to anybody who talks to us. We still haven't gotten a suggestion or a request for a film, and I would love to hear about a movie that you guys would love to hear us talk about. Oh, no, I take it back. There's a dude, so Zach, really fast, somebody really, really wants, when we do the Hobbit trilogy, he really, really wants the extended cut, so we got to talk about that. I know.
I was going to say we should do the extended cut also. The problem with that for me is that it sucks.
It doesn't make them better. That's
Okay.
the problem.
Well, that's not actually entirely true. Okay. The extended editions of the first two are actually pretty good. The third one's extended cut has so much superfluous action that is absolutely nonsensical and obnoxious that it low-key makes me mad. We're going to do it that way. I wouldn't let you get out of doing the extended editions.
See,
it'll probably turn to us just talking about Mass Effect or something through like the hour and a half of CG madness action that is the extended edition of the Battle of the Five Armies.
Okay.
But
so
it'll be a great time.
If we go back and we listen to the end of the Return of the King, you specifically say, I know because I actually checked this, that you specifically said we're not doing the extended cuts. I will barely get through the regular ones. So now I have you on.
Oh, yes. I'm aware that I said that previously, but I realized that we need to keep consistency.
Yeah, we do.
This is me retconning myself.
Okay. So for I forget your username, I apologize. But okay, so when we get to the Hobbit trilogy, we will do the extended cuts for you. So, but with that, we are going to watch Star Trek Nemesis 2002. There is no alternate cut of this film, I believe. It's just the one.
There are some deleted scenes that are some of them are actually pretty good. But they deleted them for time because they needed it to be under 2 hours, which is under 2 hours by exactly 1 minute and 46 seconds.
All right. Well, we're going to hit that play button in 3, 2, 1, go.
Play. So one of the pieces of trivia that I read about this movie, and it's the first thing on Amazon, like, ooh, general trivia. Patrick Stewart was paid as much for this movie as virtually the entire 7-year run of Next Gen.
Yeah. Well, that cast did not make a lot of money during that run. So this...
No, it's not like modern prestige television.
We got Jerry Goldsmith back doing...
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he came back for First Contact, Insurrection, and this, right? I mean, he's one of the...
I like the font.
Yeah.
I like the font to this movie. The weird little like Nemesis.
Well, you get the backwards R.
They turn the R around.
Yeah, this is definitely this era of like marketing was very. I feel like this was in the same thing where if you put some X's in something, it's like cool, right?
Yeah.
It's that
this
era
was
of
very
marketing.
much the middle of X-Men. Like X-Men 1 had just gone off. X-Men 2 was filming at the same time as this one, to the point of where, because Patrick Stewart was working on both X2 and this at the same time, that Bryan Singer has a cameo in this movie.
That's right. Yeah, he has like an instant that runs
himself.
by. Yes. This is also, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first... Oh, it's great. This is the first Star Trek film that does not have a traditional full open credits against the stars, though, right?
That is very true.
Because, I mean, Star Trek 3, before anybody's like, Brian, this is... Star Trek 3, yes, half the credits are in, like, clouds, but you still get a full credit sequence before anything comes on screen. So, there you go.
But yeah, like, the Romulan music for this is something that I remember, and they end up reusing it for a couple of things in the future. They even have a remix of it in Star Trek Discovery with Unification Part 3. And it's not bad.
This is, so CinemaSins, I will quote them a few times throughout this. I'm sorry, but they're funny sometimes. But they said, how did we get 10 movies deep and the Romulans had never been like a protagonist in any of the Star Trek movies? Like, it was one of those like odd things that the Romulans, as much as they're a cool villain, they feature in some of the best episodes of the original and Next Gen and DS9. And this is the first appearance at all, or just first major appearance in any film?
Nope. Second appearance.
Oh yeah, because they play a role in
Star Trek
6.
Generation. And 6. But in Star Trek Generations, there were dead Romulans aboard the station.
Yeah, Worf is little Romulans.
But they were going to do Romulans actually as the villains of last week's entry, Insurrection. But they were specifically told not to because they had already done Romulans previously in Generations.
That doesn't even count.
Exactly, but that was what they said in an interview at one point.
I love how this thing's just this bright red, like what?
Well, that's something you could write around because one, it allows you to notice it, but two, like maybe it's just a thing
Yeah.
that's
The
normal.
actor here who plays the main Romulan guy, his name is, I believe, Alan Dale. He's one of those actors that just shows
Alan
up in
Dale?
so many things. I think that's his name.
Yes, it is Alan Dale.
Yeah, he's one of those actors who look at his filmography. He pops up in so many things that you're like, oh, he was in that. He was in that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just one of those characters. He plays a business mogul a lot or a villain a lot, but he's he's one of those prolific.
He was one of the councilmen in Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
he was actually considered for the role of Gandalf back in the day.
Yeah, he's a great actor. Here we get some kind of. I did not love the CG in this scene. I think it's it's a little
it
plasticky.
was fine for the time. But I liked that effect right there.
That's not
the
bad.
Final graying
When it gets to the
turning
end
into ash.
The slow
and then
motion.
that's obviously a practical effect. Look at the lighting on that thing.
Yeah.
Man, he looks like Darth Sion from Knights of the Old Republic too.
Yeah, it was just the initial fade in of the black kind of bubbling that was definitely early 2000 CG.
Yeah.
So Patrick
and
Stewart.
Here we have the long-awaited wedding of Troy and Riker.
If you stare in the background, you'll see Will Wheaton. He's here. He's hanging out. His lines all got cut.
He had a full scene with him and Guinan, but his lines got cut.
There he is.
And there he is, far left. They were going to include people from Deep Space Nine and Voyager, most notably Jerry Ryan as 7 of 9, but she was doing Boston Legal, and she was sort of like,
why would I be there?
Why the hell would 7 of 9 even be there?
Yeah.
And because there was this idea, it was a terrible idea, by the way. Marina Sirtis asked for more money for this movie, especially after reading the script and having the whole sexual assault aspect. She was like, we should be paid more. And they were like, we're just going to replace you with 7 of 9. And Jerry Ryan was like, no. There's no reason I'd be hanging out with these people, which they finally figured that out 20 years later, that they should be hanging out because of the whole Borg thing. But they were seriously thinking about replacing Troy with 7 of 9 for the role in this movie.
Yeah. And it does, I mean, as much as I love a lot of the things out of this era of Star Trek, the way that many of the female cast members were treated was not great, unfortunately.
No, and a lot of the problem with that resulted from the executive producer, Rick Berman.
Yeah.
He knew Star Trek really well. He knew how to do some really interesting things with story and continuity and special effects. But he was a pig when it came to women.
Yeah, it's like that weird cloud over 90s Star Trek. Like in hindsight, it's kind of like, honestly, we're going to see him a tiny bit later. But Bryan Singer, who has made some of my favorite movies, but it's just this weird cloud over his that work, and it's sad that you find that stuff out later, and it's just kind of taints it. I mean, I adore the acting ability of Kevin Spacey, but gosh, it's hard to revisit his films. It's just stuff like that. It's just sad when it happens.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
This is a funny little.
This is
23 was my limit. Jordy's look. Oh man. Okay. I want to do this now really fast. I heard this in 2 or 3 different videos talking about insurrection and this, and I'm curious if you agree that there is like movie Picard, and he's kind of different than TV Picard. Go ahead.
I actually cite what they say.
Well, like I mean, Cinema Sins brought it up a few times, and they're basically like, well, I see your problem. You thought you were dealing with TV Picard, or you forgot this is movie Picard, and he really wants to do action scenes, so things have changed. TV Picard, he never would have done this, but you forgot that you're now in Movie Land Picard. So CinemaSins talked about it, and there was one other. Well, no, it's the guy who was talking about insurrection, and its whole anti-technology thing. I forget. I can't remember his name. He makes great
Rowan?
videos. He's talked about that there was a writing shift that honestly behind the scenes, if you look into it, Patrick Stewart drove a shift in Picard becoming really the star. Like, he really wanted to be front and center of these things, and Brent Spiner was the next person after him that kind of was,
Blue
the two of them really are the stars of these movies. And Patrick Stewart definitely pushed for Picard to get a slightly different characterization.
Yes, I agree, and that's something I noticed. But I figured that it was literally supposed to be his character development and his influence from Kirk in Star Trek Generations.
I will always take
Like,
the
as a
score and
young
beauty
man-
shot, by the way. I mean, regardless of the film.
Great beauty shot.
Yeah.
In fact, a still from this scene, I have an entire cycling background. That right there. Okay, I have an entire cycling background on my phone, not my phone, my computer, my desktop, of the Enterprises in order. And that's the best shot of the Enterprise E you can get.
I'm sorry,
But,
I interrupted you. To
that
talk about
song that
Picard.
Data was
Blue Sky.
singing, I get that stuck in my head because that's not the original cadence of the song Blue Skies. The original cadence that appeared in like Irving Berlin and the performance that was done by people like not Gene Kelly, whoever it was that was in White Christmas. Okay.
Bing Crosby.
Bing Crosby, blue skies, smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Like, they're so fast and like almost a patter song versus Data in here singing it like all blues and jazzy. And it gets stuck in my head sometimes. It just randomly pops in there and I'm like, blue skies, smiling at me. But yeah, Picard, I genuinely figured as a young man that this was character development for him. That he had kind of this was Starfleet at war, during the Dominion War, and all this other stuff. They'd gone through a lot. This is a more like aggressive, adventurous Picard. He's older now. He's less optimistic. He's a little bit more jaded, and he's been Borged. He's gone through his wilderness and he's come back. He's still sophisticated. He's still eloquent, but he'll knock your jaw off if he needs to. But that's just me.
Yeah. I do think that to the detriment at times of other characters, and I've said this before, Patrick Stewart and Brent Spiner are both fantastic actors who deserve all the accolades they get. But I do think that the two of them kind of took over the movie franchise for Next Gen, and in some ways for good, and in some ways, wait, what's that?
Yeah, they both became producers and so on.
Yeah, because like, I mean, we've talked about it a few times. Gates McFadden is a good actress, and they just couldn't figure out what to do with her. LeVar Burton has, like we've talked about at length with Insurrection, a fantastic actor, and they still struggled to do anything with him. I mean, in this movie, he gets basically nothing other than just yelling, status, of the ship in its battle. I mean, they finally gave Troy something to do, but it was she gets raped, and Picard's like, do you think you can take it for a little bit longer? Because I need you with me. It's like, okay. Like, it's interesting. And, I mean, to be fair, the original series absolutely struggled with this, too. I mean, it was the Kirk, Spock, and McCoy show, and the auxiliary characters were lucky to get one or two scenes that stood out in the entire film. So I'm not trying to say like Next Gen is uniquely guilty of this, right? But yeah. I think it stands out more because the Next Gen show it flushed out the full cast so much more. The original series was the Kirk, Spock, and Kirk, Spock, and McCoy show all through the run. And you had the occasional moments, but it was the same in the movies. In this, you had the full cast all having great episodes. Again, Geordi's probably the one that gets the most shortchanged, followed by Doctor. But they still had some episodes. And in the movies, they just kind of really turned it into the Picard and Data show.
Yeah. Because even Riker, like, the dude even directed some of the movies, and he gets like one great glory moment, and even that's kind of tainted by having to use a freaking like joystick while he's all shaven.
Well, and then
Um,
his fight with Ron Perlman's character, the Viceroy, is dumb.
Mhm.
Sorry, that whole fight, the way it goes down, the fact that he's the one.
Like, why is there a silo with a giant fan in the middle of the
Oh
Enterprise
gosh,
D?
it is that moment on the interior design is up there with Star Trek V and the Turbolift shaft.
I agree.
This whole sequence, which I know Patrick Stewart had a great time. Apparently, he did most of the driving himself, but this is
Mhm.
dumb. Like, sorry, this is one of those unnecessary. Although from what I understand, Stuart Baird, the director, really wanted this to be kind of punched up as like giving the movie some action, and we can talk about him
This is
as
the
we go
most
on.
unnecessary action sequence in the history of Star Trek.
Also, too,
Like-
isn't this just a gross violation of the Prime Directive the way this goes down?
I don't think so.
They literally say
that-
this is a pre-industrial civilization, or
No, they
like
say
an
it's a
or early.
post-industrial civilization.
No, but like okay,
Early
this is clearly like a pre-warp civilization. This is not a civilization that Star Trek that Starfleet would allow, and they like just.
I never thought about it, to be honest.
So CinemaSins points this out. Like when they come over and they start shooting, and there's just like Worf just starts blasting at them. This is like so Picard would not have allowed this to happen. This is one of those things
You're
that
right.
just
I didn't even think
doesn't
about
make
that.
sense if you actually think about it,
And-
because this is absolutely not a civilization that they would be allowed to like have this be their aliens are real, by the way moment.
Mhm.
Thanks to
And
Picard,
why do
Data,
they
and
have
Worf.
the Mexico P filter on here?
Oh, they do. Yeah.
So for
Everything's-
those of you who don't know, there's a trope where you're filming in Mexico. We're gonna put a filter, or it's supposed to be Mexico. Like we're gonna put a filter over it that makes it look like everything is colored like pee, and that's very much what's on the screen on this
Oh,
planet
yeah.
to make it look a little bit less like Southern California. But lo and behold, it looks like Southern California. Is that the LA National Forest with no trees and all of its shrubs?
Yeah.
Because the LA National Forest is a joke because there's no trees and it's all shrubs. I don't like B4.
No.
I don't like the plot contrivance of it. It's an annoying thing to me. I don't like stupid baby Data.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it's also
weird.
too okay. Is Shinzon's plan just kind of dumb?
It's no.
But why did he need? Okay, so here, and I'm jumping way ahead in the plot here, but the entire on-screen reason for B4 is to get the data from the Enterprise computer to let him know where the fleet is, right? The communication protocols. But his
it's a
cloak
couple
is
things.
perfect.
Mhm.
So the only thing that's on screen that B4 was supposed to gather from the Enterprise, he didn't need. This is like a very elaborate thing. He could have just brought the Enterprise to Romulus by inviting them. They would have come. I mean, this means nothing to them coming to Romulus. This entire thing is just about, I'm going to set this like, I found this random android, and it is overly. It's one of those overly complicated villain things that just doesn't make a lot of sense given what information is given later.
It would have made sense. They biff it at the end. You could tell that there's a shift in the writing. I don't know if this happened because of studio interference, because they ran out of ideas, because they ran out of budget. I don't know. But they essentially were like, what we're going to do is we need more threat. It can't just be personal. He needs to have a super weapon that's going to destroy Earth.
Yeah.
And they can't find him because he has a perfect cloak.
Yeah.
And
well,
there was definitely just a giant shift.
Yeah. Well, is it the scimitar?
Yeah.
So the scimitar bothers me as just I don't like it in general.
Aesthetically?
No. I was gonna say as a so I'm not a big fan of super ships when they do everything right. I think that they didn't balance it correctly, and I'm not gonna get this quote just right, but it's like it can be like big, fast, and like strong, but like you only get 2 out of 3. I'm butchering this, I'm sorry, but there's a principle of you need to have a cost to one strength. Like if you're going to have a crazy strength, it needs to be a side effect or something. And
It's character building. Okay,
the
so you go
scimitar,
into a video game from 2002 and you're creating your own character. You're gonna
yeah,
have 3 classes. Okay, you're
yeah,
gonna have the brute, you're gonna have the wizard, and you're gonna have the sneaky guy. And they'll be able to overlap some things, but there's gonna be one giant shortcoming.
yeah. The scimitar feels like a fanfic ship. Oh no,
Yes,
it's got
it's
a
the
perfect
Mary
cloak,
Sue of
and
ships.
its shields can stay up while it's cloaked, and it can fire its guns, and even if its cloak was broken, it's so powerful it doesn't matter anyways because it can take the combined firepower.
78 disruptors.
Yeah, it feels like a 5-year-old Romulan ship. You know what I mean? Or maybe an 8-year-old
Yes,
Romulan ship.
and I just don't like the way it looks. It just doesn't look like the proper bird of prey anymore.
It does, yeah. The aesthetic doesn't bother me because it's Riemann and it's a one-off. But I just that battle, and actually I think visually that battle's got some really cool moments for sure.
Oh, I actually really like the battle at the end.
But they should have. It would have been a more interesting fight with. Okay, it's got this and this and this, but when you do this, you give up this. There's not a single downside, and it's frustrating because it's boring in a way.
Yeah. The shooting script for Nemesis described the introduction of the craft as magnificent. Our first sight of this incredible ship is absolutely breathtaking. Shinzon's vessel combines the cleanest lines of traditional Romulan warbird with unique weaponry and styling. It's huge, easily twice as large as the Enterprise, and it's aggressive, awesome in its power. And I just don't think you got that,
No.
They wanted it to resemble, of all things, a lionfish.
When it's all of its arms are out, I could see that, but you only see that briefly at the very end.
Yeah.
You know, when its wings spread out for its aileron,
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, when the weapon deploys like out of the tip and it's like a layer and then another layer and it's all like again very early 2000 CG.
Mhm.
Anyways, the so the before this movie, and I canon is a tricky thing to talk about, right? Because I guess especially in Star Trek canon is messy. You can find all kinds of problems and inconsistencies.
Yeah.
But this is one where I do feel like there was no attempt to be like, wait a minute, you're covering things that have been very clearly, covered in Star Trek. Like when they show Tom Hardy, and I love Tom Hardy as an actor, but we've seen young Picard. They had a whole episode where Q took him back, and we saw photos of him, and they looked nothing like that. And we had multiple episodes. There's Janeway. We had multiple episodes dealing with Dr. Soon and his development of the Ponatronic Matrix, and there was no even hint that there was another one. And it just, not that you couldn't write it in a way that it wouldn't, and it's not by any means the worst offense this movie makes, but I do think this movie is overly guilty of the Next Gen movies, of kind of ignoring some very established things from Next Gen, the show.
Absolutely. I did really appreciate the cameo here by Kate Mulgrew as Admiral Janeway, and actually seeing some people from other shows moving on in their life. That was some good stuff. But no, I completely agree. And wait, what did you just say? Because I had a thought for it and then it left because of Janeway.
Well, just canon established by the show.
Yeah. How much of a sin is it, okay, that they make this movie and it's the Romulans and the bad guy isn't Sela?
That would have been, oh man, and it would have been awesome to give Denise Crosby a little shot.
I almost said Richards for some reason.
Yeah, I think it's Denise Crosby, right? That's the actress's name.
Yeah,
that played Tasha, who is the namesake of my daughter,
Tasha Yar.
Yeah.
She wanted so badly to be killed off and leave the show, and then the moment she was killed off and left the show, it became a huge hit, and she did everything she could to be brought back.
I also I like the idea of the Remans. I mean, they're way back. There had been, when the emblem of the Romulan Star Empire was created for, I think, the Next Gen. That wasn't the original series, but it had 2 planets in its talons, and the idea that they kind of were like, okay, well, what's the second planet? Maybe it's the second. Like, I actually kind of think it's. I don't mind the Remans as a
and I like
as a
their
species.
Design based very clearly off of Nosferatu and vampires.
Oh yeah. I like that the table's lit up. I don't know. It's kind of it gives it a little bit of an elevated look that the conference table is
Yeah.
like underlit.
Because we didn't have a conference room scene like this in any of
Where's
the other
Worf
Star Trek
in
movies.
this scene?
Well, he's on loan.
No. What I mean is like,
Um,
oh, there he is. He's in the
there he
back.
is.
Okay, I'm like, they had that shot, and it's like the whole crew, and I'm like, there's a
He
missing
looked
missing
comped
chair.
in.
Yeah.
Hmm. They do build up Shinzon in an interesting way. Like they got the whole thing here. It is kind of just wordy exposition, but that's what Star Trek is kind of known for. Them
Oh
sitting
yeah.
around a conference table and having wordy exposition.
No, it's actually
But
something
I
that I
like the build up of
yeah.
Shinzon.
No, I one of the things that I complain about with all of the Kurtzman Star Trek is I actually miss good conversation and explanation and like plot. Let's just sit here and talk about it for a few minutes. I actually like that part of Star
Yeah,
Trek a lot.
they have
so.
a couple. They have a couple times when because it's almost like I'm reminded because of its rarity. There's a couple times in Discovery where they're like standing around a table and they're talking, but it's usually only like three of them. I'm like, where's the conference table? Where's
Yeah.
everybody sitting at a conference table having a conversation? And instead, they're kind of like standing around a laboratory table, and one person's really excited. One person's the brainy one who's breaking down logically, and the other one is going to be the reasonable one. And they all come to an agreement by the end. And I'm like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah. Okay, this whole thing too of like I thought it was interesting that they reassembled B4 and turned him on, and this moment coming up here is the first time anybody's like, oh, he's got an extra port. Now, I don't mind that they dismiss it, honestly, because they don't know enough about him. But I find it odd that, like, this is when it's first noticed. Like, when they reassembled him, nobody was like, hey, what's this thing?
Yeah.
It's just odd.
Um,
I do think Brent Spiner's performance as B4 is like he's having fun. I don't like B4, just like you mentioned.
No.
I'm not a fan of him as a character, but I do think Brent Spiner did a great job with him.
I like how they ended up using B4 in Star Trek Picard. He was brought in order to be like containing a backup of Data, because even though this was Data's death, it wasn't a satisfying ending. And despite the ups and downs of Picard season 3, or no, Picard season 1, because it was like really great moments and really terrible moments, really great moments and really terrible moments. The episode Nepenthe is incredible. The following episode is so bland. It's like, and there's only like 10 episodes, by the way. They give Data a proper death and send off in the end of Picard season 1 that is so
scene,
good.
Oh yeah, that whole scene, and as much as I'm even less of a fan of the first season than you are, but that scene is so good.
Mm-hmm. And they use B4 and the backup made here as a method of being able to achieve that, and I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, it's a lens flare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before
Okay. I've never understood this. They do this with Earth, and now they're doing it with Romulus. It's always weird to me when you're like, at this era, the home planet, and it's like just a super clean orbit. Like there's no, I get like cloaking devices or whatever, but they do it with Earth. That there's like not like traffic and stations and ships just floating around. Like this is freaking Romulus. You think there would be, it should be more busy, right? At this point.
Yeah.
And Earth, I mean, especially Earth. Like you could write away Romulus because it's secretive and it's all cloaked, and they want to make sure long range scans don't see anything. You could write around that, but Earth is super guilty of it, where it's like you have like Starbase 1 and nothing else in all of Earth orbit, and the sin of generations. Oh, you're in the solar system. You're the only ship around. Like what? What are you actually? Anyways, sorry.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. This is
it looks cool to have
one.
like the clean plate, but then here, this. I do think that moment was, I don't know, the moment here of just kind of the slow decloak. Like they didn't do the classic ripple decloak. You kind of had that slow like reveal, which I'll go with that. I enjoy it.
I mean, this is the first time we've seen cloaking in one of the movies. No, there was some in
Generations.
Generations.
Yeah, they had some cloaking when the bird of prey flew away from the station.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, also, there's an error here. I apologize for being pedantic, but I have to. The Enterprise E is actually not the first Federation starship to visit Romulus. The USS Bellerophon, which was an Intrepid class that was shown in the episode Inter Arma and in Silent Legis, the
in
Deep
Times
Space
of
Nine
War,
episode.
the Law. becomes silent, I believe is the loose translation.
Stand silent, yes, or fall silent. But
That's a good
they visit
episode.
Romulus very briefly.
Yep.
Oh, such a good episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ron Perlman.
But
He's definitely
Ron
not a
Perlman.
stranger to makeup, right? He's done it many
Nope.
times.
Just after this, about a year after this, he started filming Hellboy, and that was really his breakout role. I love Ron Perlman so much. He's another one of those people that we were talking about earlier. Oh, that wasn't us. That was my wife and I. We were talking about certain people that you would love to just talk to, and you know that they'd just be awesome to have a conversation about this nerdy crap with. But you also know that, like, if you started talking politics, they'd probably end up hating you. But
Did
he's
you?
so fun. He's
Did
such a
you?
huge nerd.
Oh yeah. Have you? I think I told you about it because you know that Jonathan Frakes and Brent Spiner have a podcast now, dropping names.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I told you about it, right? They did an episode with Ron Perlman, and they bring up this movie, and Jonathan Frakes and Ron Perlman are not kind to the director in that episode. They do not hold back or try to be polite. They're just this effing guy.
Well, a lot of the problems with this movie come directly from the director, unfortunately. Gentleman by the name of Stuart Baird.
Yep.
He only directed 3 movies, and this was the last movie he ever directed. He did Executive Decision,
which I like,
U.S. Marshals, and Star Trek Nemesis. Yeah. And U.S. Marshals was such a letdown because Tommy Lee Jones reprising his Oscar-winning character performance from The Fugitive, right?
Yeah.
I don't care. Playing Gerard, Marshall Gerard. And it's just like he biffs it over and over again. Where Stuart Baird is good is as an editor. Okay? This guy has edited everything. He edited the original 1978 Superman. He edited Casino Royale. He edited Skyfall. Well, I mean, he also edited the 2011 Green Lantern, but there was no saving that. He's pretty much retired now, but he did some really good stuff. The Mask of Zorro, Die Hard 2, Die Hard, Lethal Weapon 2.
Unquestionably, he's a good director. I mean, sorry, a good editor.
Vantage Point. Yeah. But he didn't know how to direct a movie, and he didn't know how to direct Star Trek, especially.
Well, you had
we have the
difference. Oh, wait, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to change.
I was just going to say really quickly, the difference of Nicholas Meyer came in not knowing much about Star Trek, but actually took the time to educate himself, versus Stuart Baird, who basically, in many, many different interviews, saying the same thing, that he basically didn't care to learn about it. Unlike Nicholas Meyer, who came in not knowing anything and actually took the time to educate himself.
Yes. It's the fault for this movie, I believe, largely lies on the director.
Yeah.
And here we have the introduction of Praetor Shinzon, played by a young and unknown Tom Hardy, who is in his cocaine phase. And I feel so bad for Tom Hardy because this role, he had a nervous breakdown because of this role. And he said that it spun him into alcoholism. It destroyed a relationship that he was in. And he ended up actually needing to take a grippy sock vacation because he was having so many suicidal thoughts. And he ended up getting clean, at least until recent years, apparently, afterward, and getting his big breakout in 2008's Bronson. And here he is. He's young Picard. For some reason, he has much bigger lips.
Yeah, the lips don't even remotely...
has no lips.
Yeah. And he even has, I believe he's got a little bit of prosthetic on his chin and his nose, right? But they didn't do something to make him, give him the thin lip. Because to me, other than being bald, yeah, you really, I guess, I don't know. Yeah, we're way too early for any kind of CG solution to that.
Yeah.
I adore Tom Hardy as an actor. He is unquestionably, I think, one of the best actors of the modern era. I will absolutely defend that, but he's not Picard, and other than him being bald, I just don't. I never saw it.
He was the second choice, or probably not even the second choice. There were probably a lot of other choices, but he was not the first choice. They wanted and campaigned hard for Jude Law.
That would have been really interesting. And it's funny. You say that, and I remember that now. I've definitely heard that before. As Jude Law is a fantastic actor, also.
Yeah. Well, he was
That would have
coming
been
fresh
interesting.
off of AI.
Hmm.
But Jude Law, he's got the lack of lips. He's got a little bit more lip than Patrick Stewart, but he's got the eyebrows. He has the chin, and he has the cheekbones. I genuinely think, like, you put 2002 Jude Law next to um, Patrick Stewart, and they could play father and son.
I always find it interesting in this scene that Data steps up, right, to be like, okay, I'm going to protect the captain. He's pulling a knife out and Riker a little bit. And Worf is in the background and doesn't move at all. Worf's just like, whatever.
Dude, okay, just imagine how much of a, like, there, you could already start creating tension between characters in this scene, and you don't. Like, have somebody move to defend Picard, and, like, Riker, who has the fight with the Praetor, or with the Viceroy, I mean. Like, have the Viceroy step forward, then, like, have animosity growing between the Viceroy and perhaps Worf, or perhaps
Well,
Riker, so
having
that they can
Worf,
fight later in the movie.
yeah, having Worf on the Romulan homeworld, like in that building specifically, would have been a big deal if you like, thought about, the Klingons and the Romulans, and the fact that they hate each other. Oh man. They just like, Worf gets very little to do in this. Obviously, I think that's the most dialogue Crusher gets in the entire film, right there, talking about
Yes,
DNA.
it is.
It's just, oh goodness.
You ever think of what just an absolute sci-fi icon that Ron Perlman is?
Oh yeah.
Like, he's just standing here in makeup with a cane. He's done a couple of other things before this, but like not a ton. He's done voices in cartoons and The Outer Limits and things like that. Titan AE, he was the dad.
Yeah.
But man, after this, we're talking like Blade 2, and then all these voices. He's voicing tons of characters in Justice League. He plays Hellboy and
yeah. Well, and I mean, it's so funny because it's such a
Lord
small
Hood in Halo.
Yeah, it's such a minor thing, but to me, it's so iconic, and for a lot of people, the war never changes. From Fallout,
war never changes.
And
exactly.
That's like,
I was going to get to like the Fallout series, especially starting with Fallout 3. Or wait, was he all the way back in the old ones?
I'm not confident.
He was.
Was he? Okay, but
the narrator for Fallout 1 in 1997 and Fallout 2, he was the narrator. So he's been the narrator for Fallout. Recently appeared in person as a super mutant in the Fallout TV series, and he says that it's not meant to be a one-off, it's meant to be a setup, and that just ooh, I'm so excited for that.
Yeah. Okay, do you think this was always weird to me as a like this Romulan commander's, I forget her name.
Saran?
This whole like, I'm gonna just like come on to you and then realize that, oh, this is actually a big I don't know, I thought this was, again, this is very of its time writing, maybe, where like the female character is supposed to, the only way that she can like exercise, any kind of like, oh, I'm gonna, I'm willing to sleep with you to curry favor, and he's gonna be like, no, don't even touch me, and so now I'm going to like, show up and fight you. It was a very, her arc is super cliche in my opinion, and not well done.
Well,
I don't know what else you would do, honestly.
It's easy to infer. She's very two-dimensional. I'm not saying that she's deep, but it's not just like, oh, I'm going to sleep with you or whatever. She hates this man, and it's obvious from the off that she hates him.
Oh, yeah.
She wants what's best for her people, and she doesn't think that it's him, and she's going to do whatever's necessary. So right now, she's trying to get in his good graces so she could inevitably betray him, because that's the classic Romulan way of doing things. Or she's going to end up just like, oh, somebody's going to fight again, and let's do it.
Okay, yeah. Is so, his
cliche,
there was a few moments, like there was just one of them right there. There's a few moments where his strength is not correct for a human against Vulcans, essentially, or Romulans, because they're supposed to be stronger than humans, but he's shown more than once to have above average strength. I guess I'll put it that way.
Well, it does imply that he, or it actually just straight up says that he was like in the mines for years and had
Yeah,
some
but
like genetic stuff to be stronger.
hmm,
Also, they have established that Romulans are not as strong as Vulcans. They're separate evolution. Like they are no longer telepathic and they have weaker physiques.
yeah,
So that is something that was established in Next Generation and the other thing,
okay.
Deep Space Nine.
Use is none.
They're more on par with humans than Vulcans.
Oh, Spot's back.
Yeah, I'm glad that they had Spot. Which Brent Spiner wasn't a cat guy,
No,
but he never really cared for the whole Spot thing. But it's classic.
it
Spot's
it
great.
it does work for sure. And so here we've got the whole, before he's going to do the fast typing thing, and we're gonna break into the
Mm,
Enterprise. Weird graphic on the
uh,
screen to be like,
uh,
this is how you hack. It seems like a very early 2000s hacking screen he's got going here,
yeah, it
Matrix
doesn't make
esque.
any sense. Like very very Matrixy. Doesn't really belong in Star Trek. But what are you gonna do, right? I do like the idea that because they do show it a little bit later that they monitored that B4 was breaking in. They kind of knew that B4 was a little bit of a trap.
Yeah,
Like, okay, we need to lure the Enterprise to be the closest ship to Romulus in this important time. So how do we do that? A positronic symbol
signal.
or a positronic signal
Yeah.
symbol.
No, this one thing that this movie is, I will absolutely give it props for, is it doesn't rely on stupid decisions by the main characters in order to make the plot happen. Like the
Yeah,
fact
they
that,
actually do kind of make smart decisions.
yeah, well, the fact that they catch what's happening and have it all set up,
Mhm.
where it was Data. Like they basically, the fact that Shinzon doesn't like get over on Picard. It's not like he completely tricks him. Like Picard never truly trusts him. I mean, they have conversations where I think is it after this or did I already miss it? Where he's like, I just don't know. He's like, they never. There's one moment at the very end I'll talk about when we get closer, but for the most part, they let Picard be smart enough to not fall for this. And then they,
Mhm.
they let the crew catch B4, and then Data's obviously there and kind of able. It's, I do appreciate that, because that's a cliche that I hate, where it's in order for the villain to get his plan to work, the main characters become morons for a few minutes.
Yeah. That always bothers me. And it's just like if they're going to be morons, you have to make a really good reason for them to be morons. Oh, okay. This scene right here, this frame of showing the minds of Remus, somebody put together this whole thing of 2000s CGI or AI. And people guessed that one is AI because there's something about the framing and the lighting that
It
makes
is a
it
little
look
bit,
AI.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, he's got hair
Um
here.
yeah. This I just don't think the whole clone of Picard thing was a good idea. It was brought up for Insurrection in one of the early drafts where Patrick Stewart would be playing a dual role, but this wasn't the right way to go. I think that if there was going to be anything, like have Patrick Stewart playing against an accelerated growth clone of himself. Um but have Sela being the bad
Yeah,
guy in the background, you know?
Sela would have
Um
been a very personal. I mean, that was already well established in the show. Which,
yeah.
what was the two-parter with the Klingon Civil War that she was in? What was the name of that two-parter?
Uh
Is that
yeah, that one.
Reunification? No, that not Reunification.
No, no. Unification was the two-parter with the
With Spock.
Romulans. Yeah.
But
Mhm.
that was it, where we had Lursa and Bator, and Data got command of his own ship, and they had the whole
Mhm.
tacky. That had whole thing. It was a two. What was it? It was the Romulan Civil. I mean, the Klingon Civil War. Worf actually resigned and went and like fought on with his brother on a bird of prey, and they lured him around the sun. I remember scenes from it. But I don't remember the title of the episode. Um,
I think it was called like Ascension. No, not Ascension. That was the
yeah.
um
Is it Redemption?
Redemption sounds right.
Redemption Part 1 and 2. I feel like that might be
Yeah,
it.
Redemption Part 1 and 2.
Okay, but anyways,
Galron prepares to take control of the High Council, but a
yeah.
rival faction led by the Dura sisters threatens to plunge the Empire into war.
Yeah, but she would have been a you would have got that a villain, because I mean they were going for a villain with a personal connection, right? Like they wanted the con, they wanted a villain that wasn't just a bad guy who wants to do something bad and Picard happens to be in the way. They wanted something personal. And she would have been a really interesting angle to make it personal for Picard, where he is emotionally conflicted about what to do because he would feel somewhat responsible. And that's actually too, you could even, have Whoopi do a little bit because she was obviously very instrumental in the Interstellar Enterprise episode and kind of recognizing what was going on. So there's, you could have taken that in some interesting places. I'm not into this. This is, again, you have two good actors here giving good performances. Like, I don't fault them, but this is not very engaging.
Yeah. No, I agree. And you know what I can't stop focusing on is these uncomfortable looking Riemann like costumes that he's on. This
Oh,
faux leather
but it's
pearlescent thing.
that like that really glossy. It's distracting. It's
Yeah.
yeah. I also think it's funny that apparently the Romulans don't believe in like solid doors. Like even in the council chambers, it's like everything's like transparent doors and all this stuff is kind of like the gates everywhere. Although this set is actually pretty cool. Like it has a very kind of
Oh yeah.
Roman influence, right, or like old Greek kind of thing going.
Definitely Roman. Definitely Roman.
Okay.
Because I mean Romulus and Remus, the mythological founders of Rome, they and all the way from back when we first saw the Romulans at the very beginning of the original series in possibly the greatest episode of Star Trek ever made in The Balance of
Yeah,
Terror.
such a good episode.
I love The Balance of Terror so much. And they were very Roman. They had the togas and everything. There was a whole Roman aesthetic to them, and
Well, and
yeah.
Mark Leonard before he played Sarek is just amazing. Portrayal as Romulan commander is so good.
Mm-hmm.
But
Got now okay. One of the biggest missed opportunities in all of J.J. Abrams' Star Trek is okay. Imagine if they'd been able to do Interregnus better. All right. And they were able to provide, the famous line that if we had met under different circumstances, maybe we would have been able to be friends. That's paraphrasing,
mhm.
right? For the Romulan commander at the end of Balance of Terror.
Yeah.
And Khan, they establish Khan as not that horrible of a human being in Space Seed, a tyrant who did terrible things, but like a just and fair ruler despite the terrible time he lived in. Imagine if you were able to do something with Into Darkness where you have a sort of enemy that reframes the entirety of their relationships and you actually end up with the Romulan commander from Balance of Terror, Han and Kirk, all on the same side and working together in this like loose, tense alliance of hyper competent, incredibly dangerous people. Like that exists in some universe, and I envy them.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think about the whole, this that gets revealed here that, he's dying and he needs all of Picard's blood to save his life. And the like, where I don't like the effect they start to do on his face where they kind of really, it's very over the top to me.
It's Shepard going renegade.
It really is. But also too, it's odd to be like, okay, so I mean, I like the sci-fi conceit of you were designed to be a rapid aging clone. You didn't get that right here. We've seen this picture. This picture exists, and it doesn't look like that. Sorry.
At least they called back and recognized that the picture existed.
Yes.
They remembered it.
Okay, I forgot. They do have this scene. This was, I mean, at least Beverly got like one scene with Picard one-on-one. I really do feel like they missed the opportunity. We talked about this in Generations, right? When the scene where Troy comes in and talks to him when he finds out his nephew's died, that they really missed the opportunity to develop Beverly and Picard's relationship throughout these films.
Well, this is supposed to. They use this in Picard season 3, where shortly after this they begin a romantic relationship. They start sleeping together, and then everything goes haywire with the supernova, the Romulan supernova. and he feels, not only just because he's a humanitarian who cares very deeply for a whole race, but he feels like his existence in his own clone messed up so much of the government that they're not able to respond to um, the threat of this supernova so badly. And so he steps in there and he essentially abandons her, but she's pregnant, and there's several assassination attempts on him, so she decides to hide the pregnancy and all the stuff, and then he goes kind of crazy and she goes kind of crazy, and it's all very convenient, and he has a secret child that he doesn't know about for drama's sake. It's not the worst setup.
No, but
given
I
what
mean,
they had.
everything you're describing
But-
happens off screen, unfortunately.
Exactly, and it's so obnoxious. And here we have Star Trek's first true sex scene. Oh my gosh.
Which morphs into
piano
a
music.
telepathic rape scene, which is,
Like,
just
why would you do that?
yeah. This whole
So
thing
while we're
with
watching
Batiana.
this wonderful thing, it's just it should be noted that the uniforms used for the Remans were reused for the Lizard Zindi in Enterprise.
Oh, that's right.
And this is the only Star Trek film that failed to open at #1 in the domestic box office. It came in second after Made in Manhattan with Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah. That was a popular movie
Yeah.
at the time.
Jonathan Frakes refused to shave his back for the love scene. The hair on his back was digitally removed by an effects house.
Oh. Yeah. That like CG shot of the Viceroy was so rough.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Like if you see him right here, and you go back and you watch I mean, granted, you could say, oh, it's kind of a vision, kind of a dreamy thing, but it just looks so bad. It looks like such early bad CG.
Mm.
But you can see here, they're starting to see the little bits of in his head, just the earliest little bits of green lines coming into his skin.
Yeah.
Okay,
Actually,
so
you know what? It's not so much Shepard going renegade. For those of you who don't know Mass Effect, when you go bad, you end up getting little weird cuts on your face. But when you're going dark side in Knights of the Old Republic,
You're right.
you turn all gray and veiny.
So is the implication here that the Viceroy is like somehow able to like ease his pain telepathically when he like clutches his chest and kind of like helps him somehow? Is that like did you get that as?
I figured that he's doing something to help fortify him because he's obviously a Jedi. Like seriously, can you be any more Sith Lord than this freaking Viceroy? Okay. Like he even falls to his death like the freaking Emperor down a shaft in the middle of a thing that shouldn't even have a shaft. Yeah, the earliest versions of the script were written so that Patrick Stewart would be playing both Picard and Shinzon, and the final battle would have taken place between the Enterprise and the Scimitar and two fleets, one of Federation, one of Romulan, over Earth. I don't think they had the budget.
No, I've heard a few times that they really wanted it to be a fleet battle, and they just didn't have the money, and they had to I mean, and it's like I said, there's some really good shots. We'll talk about when we get there. This scene does so a lot of people have pointed out that this is not a good moment for like kind of what she implies, and Picard's response is a little. It's
very out of character.
It is that because there's almost not even sympathy in how he addresses her here. It's odd.
Yeah.
It's out of character. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. One really interesting thing, because I was trying to look for this quote, I had read it and I couldn't find it, but Patrick Stewart wrote of Star Trek Nemesis in his memoir, Making It So. Nemesis was particularly weak. I didn't have a single exciting scene to play, and the actor who portrayed the movie's villain, Shinzon, was an odd and solitary young man from London. His name was Tom Hardy, and Tom wouldn't engage with any of us of the crew on a social level. He never said good morning or good night. He spent hours. He wasn't needed on set in his trailer with his girlfriend. He was by no means hostile. It was just challenging to establish any rapport with him given his solitary behavior. On the evening Tom wrapped his role, he characteristically left without any ceremony or niceties, simply walking out the door. As it closed, I said quietly to Brent and Jonathan, "There goes someone I think we shall never hear of again, and it gives me nothing but pleasure to see that Tom has proven me so wrong and fixed the things that were wrong with him in his life." I found that very interesting.
That is interesting. I haven't read that before, but
Mhm.
Yeah, because I mean, Tom Hardy obviously went on to do many good roles, but I actually, it's funny. Some of the best roles I think Tom Hardy did were some of the quieter ones. Like there was a, have you ever even heard of this movie called Locke, Locke, where literally the
Yes, I
entire
have heard of
movie
Locke.
is him in a car having phone conversations for an hour and a half.
Right?
It
It's
is a
funny how some of those roles, man.
oh he's he is truly a gifted actor. I
Mhm.
really, I mean, I know that a
Well,
lot of people think that he's just an
I
odd guy,
loved
and
him
he's
in
taken
Mad
some weird
Max.
roles.
Oh yeah. Well, he's in this TV show right now called Mobland with what's his name? James Bond. Pierce Brosnan and Helen Mirren. And supposedly he's become a problem on set, moody and potentially using drugs again, and they want to fire him, but they've clarified that that's not happening, and it's fascinating. But I love him in Mad Max. I really did like him in The Dark Knight Rises. Despite the problems with that movie, his performance was fantastic.
Yeah, he was
That
not.
moment when he puts his hand on the guy's shoulder, do you feel in charge? Is
Yes.
so terrifying.
Oh yeah, no, he's yeah. I the no that is we'll get to that movie, but the problems with that movie, as much as I utterly respect Nolan as a filmmaker, the problem with that movie are his problems.
Oh yeah, that is Nolan's weakest movie by leaps and bounds.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually can't wait to talk about that movie because there's weird people out there
Yeah.
that love it, and I want to talk to you. Comment. Anyways, Star Trek Nemesis. Yeah, to Tom Hardy is, and even this, I think his performance is good. Like for being so new, you have this, somebody who comes in who's given, a massive role opposite, just this powerhouse of an actor in Patrick Stewart, and he absolutely holds his own from an acting point of view, right? I mean, again, I don't
Mhm.
like the idea of Picard's clone in this movie, and I don't think that he really is Picard really well. But just his performance is still just as an actor, I think, very, very good.
Yeah. I agree.
I don't fault
I
Tom
actually
Hardy, I guess is
remember
what I'm
really
saying.
liking him as a villain. I think that it was good to have a villain who is really face to face with the heroes through the whole thing. That's something like he had moments with what's his name in the first in Generations, Tides,
Soren,
the fire in which we
yeah,
burn. Soren.
Saren, Soren, yeah, Soren,
Uh,
Saren.
he
It's not
has some moments with
Soren's
Soren.
from Mass
He
Effect.
has the confrontation with the Borg Queen. He has like a moment with Ruafo in the beginning of Insurrection, but like that was his third meeting with Shinzon.
Yeah,
Okay, like they've established conflict and rapport. They even have them drinking together amiably. I love that idea. I love that start. It's kind of the rest of it. It's a little bit funky. But like this right here, this is good stuff.
yeah. And the movie,
Um,
unlike many lesser, I mean, not lesser films, but movies pull this all the time without any like setup where you go back and you're like, wait a minute, where did this come from? This movie's not guilty of that in the least. If you're paying attention, like they clearly show that they caught this all and this was all set up earlier, which I like, but they didn't hang it out there so obviously that the very first time you watch this, it's crazy obvious, but it's also not out of nowhere, which I appreciate. Just from
yeah.
a basic writing point of view. The
Mm.
Okay, I just realized, and they're about to get into it here when they take off. Not only is the scimitar, super powerful, got all the weapons and shields and perfect cloak, and while it's cloaked, its shields are still up. It also is faster than the Enterprise E, and it's long been established that the one thing the Federation starships usually had on the Romulans is that they were faster. The Enterprise E is a freaking sports car, and the idea that it
Yeah.
takes off at maximum warp and the Shinjon and the scimitar
Scimitar.
just effortlessly is like on top of it. It's there's not a single area where this ship is not better, and it's not an interesting way to create a dynamic between, because again, you could have a Yamato versus PT boats, right? Like to actually get into like a real historical battle, but
Freaking Yamato.
yeah,
Oh, the
but
Yamato is such the greatest ship ever made.
no,
Yamato was trash.
no, the Yamato had some real problems, and it was also designed for the wrong war. But anyways, it's just and then this whole thing too, like they introduced these fighters that they get in the
Yeah.
hangar bay here, and then never actually use them at all in the final
Nope.
battle, which I thought was interesting.
Hmm. That they were used in Star Trek Online. That was interesting.
Yeah,
um, there was some really interesting stuff. I was actually reading this science fiction recently that made me think of this because Star Trek never uses fighters.
well, they did
The
in
closest they
DS9.
come is in Deep Space Nine.
The, the
What's that
Maquis
episode
Raiders.
called? Where Asians tread, or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah,
Um,
where angels fear to tread. I mean, they
yes.
appear in a lot of the battles with the Dominion, and they basically just reuse the model for the Maquis Raider over and over again.
But it's just like I was reading this one because technically, a super advanced civilization could secure their planet really easily with like arrays of orbital mirrors able to pump like petawatts of power into a single isolated point that no like physics obeying shield would ever be able to resist. And so the trick would actually be deployment of entire fleets of fighters that would be able to like scatter in order to resist that kind of beam. And all this stuff. And it was really interesting because most science fictions, when they try and be hard sci-fi, tend to resist or be told that fighters aren't an actual good way of performing space battle. They just happen to look cool, a la Battlestar Galactica and Star Wars.
And Star Wars. I mean, I think Star Wars
And
really kind of brought that back.
yeah,
Even
it
though
gives
obviously,
individuality.
yeah, it also gives your heroes a more like direct interaction with the battle, right?
Yeah.
I did. Cinema Sins definitely had fun with this. Of like, thank goodness they don't have 20th century level technology where if you enter the code wrong the first 2 or 3 times, it locks you out for a while. Just
Right.
like some of the most basic things that we've had in current technology for a long time.
Yeah. But yeah, Picard getting his little like
He gets a little action beat, and then of course
dual
here,
wielding.
yeah, and then there's all of a sudden a stream that there's a welding setting.
Right? I mean, this feels so much like a direct response to Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's what this movie feels like in so many ways.
Oh, and that just behind them that just so looks like a green screen. Like it's just there's no sense of
Mhm.
space there. You have this one fighter, and then like okay, how does this room work? Are they on the top of an elevator, like a service elevator or something, or I don't know. It's just
They're
it's
in the
not a
loading
good
bay.
shot.
I do appreciate them actually building like a kind of cool looking little ship guy
Oh yeah,
though.
yeah. I don't
It's
mind
nice
this
looking.
this fighter.
I mind its existence, but for
Yeah.
totally different reasons.
I do think here now. I both understand that Picard wants to have his fate in his own hands, but if you're a truly
Mm.
objective, like tactically thinking person, wouldn't you want Data to be the one flying in this situation? I mean, he's a
Um,
freaking android. He's gonna react and fly much better than a human can. If you're trying to,
that's true. If okay, so here's one of the things that I would have done with this. They were gonna have this scene, right? They don't need the scene of Picard like driving around on a planet. Again, I get Patrick Stewart had a lot of fun with it. But this could have been the moment where he gets to have fun driving something. Injure Data. Have him get shot in the hand or something. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
do
weird.
appreciate that he continually bumps into the walls. Like at least that's realistic. But thank goodness
Yeah.
that these corridors are just big enough for this.
I mean, maybe they designed it for that.
Maybe. Can you imagine a Starfleet shuttlecraft trying to get through the quarters of the Enterprise? That would not work out well for the shuttlecraft.
No, it really would not, would it? But yeah, I and then why does it just have a random window?
Yeah, and like a
Like,
big window with like no shielding of any kind going there.
mhm,
I do like that they
yeah,
beam the whole thing on board, like not just them out of it. They literally beam the
mhm,
entire, like, just get the whole thing.
yeah, yeah. And you have some like kind of classic Star Trek look with like the tractor beam. One of the things I like about this movie is that they don't try and like reinvent Star Trek. They do play within some of its rules and some of its aesthetic. Because one of the things that I thought that they would do with this movie, especially given that this was the first one that they make so many important things. Okay, uh, this is post Star Wars, Episode 1. This is post The Matrix. Um, a lot of these big movies came out in 1999, 2000, 2001, and they don't try and change. There's influence, but they don't try and change Star Trek and its foundation
Yeah.
for this movie. And I can appreciate that.
Yeah, no, there's again, there like you said this earlier, the elevator pitch, I apologize, for this movie's not bad. And there's some ideas here that are good. It's just this is a movie that's so pulled down by all of its details, by just all the little things combined. Along with, I do think, again, a young clone of Picard sounds good on paper. It was poorly executed. You had other options. Okay, by the way, this other actor, this is we've talked about 24 a few times with the guy that plays Agent Pierce. This is the guy that played the chief of staff to President Palmer for like the first 2 or 3 seasons of 24. Is that actor there?
Yeah,
that
Mike
plays the
Novick.
Mike
He's in a
Novick.
lot of 24.
Yeah, another one of those actors, that character actors, who just appears a lot. But yeah, he's also a Romulan.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting too that
Oh,
Beverly
and it looks
went
like he's
back
also in
to
a lot of
her
fun.
red hair in this. Remember she was blonde in First Contact.
Was she blonde?
Yeah, she was.
I don't know. But yeah, it's funny. Well, actually thinking about it, I have no memory of like Gates McFadden having Dr. Crusher having much time in this movie, but there's a little bit more than I did expect.
Yeah.
Because she brings up this, and then even later she has dialogue surrounding the Thalaron radiation. They don't give her enough, mind you. She's not important to the plot. She's just an exposition machine.
Yeah.
But I guess she is technically a little bit more in this and talkative than I remember her.
Yeah, it's pretty. I literally just watched this again, and I had already. I think it's because, and I don't mean this in any bad way towards her as an actress, but I think it's because what she contributes is so inconsequential, other than just being exposition, like you said, that I had already
The one that they're
felt like she had faded even after just a couple days.
the one that they're really shafting here is LeVar Burton. Where's he?
Yeah. Well,
We haven't seen him since they discovered the data port.
No, he had the whole their cloak is perfect. I'll keep looking. He had that. He had the a little bit in the Thalaron radiation. He detected the spike when it he was the one who discovered the Thalaron radiation. So they
haven't even gone over the Thalaron radiation yet.
Yeah, they have.
They have?
Oh yeah.
I talking through it?
Yep, you did. They already went through all of that, where they had Geordi say there was a spike of it, and then Crusher explaining why a microscopic amount of it would destroy everybody on the ship, would kill everybody on the ship within seconds. They had all that already. So you were chatting.
Yeah, I was just chatting. For some reason, I thought that it was a little bit later.
Yeah. Again, I mean, I as much as I criticize Brent Spiner being almost too used, you can't fault his acting. He is such a reliable actor. And this, the nuance here of him doing befores, and then Data being kind of cold, really.
Yeah, I guess he is. I didn't really think about that fact.
He's a little cold. I wonder if it's he's sad about deactivating him, but at the same time, he's like, you were gonna hurt my family, right? And I think
I
Data
think
might
he's
have a
hurt.
little.
I think that he's like, I wish that they had brought up lore, and just been a little bit like, he's too hurt from his experiences with lore,
Here you got some more Thalaron talk. I mean, they've already talked about how dangerous it is, but here he's talking about how the scimitar, specifically how it deploys it.
Yeah.
Okay. I also
really
every now and then, space in Star Trek, as far as how far away. I think distance, not space. Distance is weird, because here we talk about the fact that apparently Romulus and Earth are a 2-day warp trip apart from each other, which is insane.
That seems a little
seems
much.
a little
that
close.
Doesn't seem to fit with
the neutral zone itself should be a day or two trip from Romulus, let alone
no,
Earth.
the neutral zone is only 1 light year across. If you're going warp 9.9.
No. What I'm talking about is how far is the neutral zone from Romulus? The neutral zone line should be a day or two away from Romulus. I mean, space is. Yes. I don't know if you all know this. I know you know this, Zach, but space is really, really big. It's very big.
There's a quote I need to find. Give me one quick moment.
Okay, this is the one part where I'm like, you did make your characters dumb for a minute, and it pisses me off. And it's the whole, once again, there's this random thing that you're gonna fly right through that disrupts your communications and messes with all kinds of stuff, and you didn't even like think about it. Like Data's like, oh no, we lost communication. Like the scene in Stellar Cartography, the much less cool looking stellar cartography than it was in Generations. It's the one moment of they lose, and also too. Okay, give me this. When this battle gets going, they say the fleet waiting for them, 6 or 8 starships, something like that. They actually show them. There's a fleet of starships.
Yeah, including the USS Archer.
Yeah, 40 minutes away. During this battle with the Shinzon, with the scimitar, Shinzon's the dude. They should have been doing their best to like fight him while pushing to that fleet to get out of this thing. Because all they had to do, like getting out of this thing to contact the fleet to get to them, would have given the battle a little bit more of a purpose, And they established the fleet as not being that far away. It's odd to me that they set all that up and then kind of just as soon as the battle starts, it never even gets brought up because in a real battle, if you knew you had a fleet close by, 100% you would have been trying to get word to them or get to them somehow. You would have been fighting in a direction. And the fact that it never gets brought up again has always bothered me. As much as there's moments of this fight that I like a lot. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Like, no, I completely agree. I think that there's much better ways that they could have done this battle. But, it's just like you'd have to rewrite so much of the movie in order to fix it that at some point it's just not worth it.
Yeah. But I do think this is one of those things where even if you didn't address anything else in the movie, you could have made this battle a little more focused on hold him, like the idea of like the Enterprise can't beat him by itself. So just hold him off long enough to get out of this freaking rift. Like, okay, you're going to introduce the rift because space apparently looks boring, so you need a green background. But the fact that like Data or Picard and nobody in the Enterprise is like, hey, should we fly through this thing, by the way? Maybe we should go around it. Just an idea. And then once they're in it, that there isn't a, like, what can we do to get out of the rift? What can we, like, you could have made the battle a little bit more story driven. Anyways, sorry. I'm ranting too much.
I completely agree. But yeah, see, look over here. You have like the Valiant, you have the Archer,
the Galaxy.
You have the Hood, the Nova, the Galaxy, and what's it called? Enterprise was already going, so they were able to throw in that whole the USS Archer. Look, there's continuity, folks. Aren't you so glad to see it?
It's awesome. This is a good little extended dialogue. This is the dialogue here is pretty good though from Data. Just about experience.
One of the things about this movie that I'll give it props on is that their dialogue is pretty good.
Yeah. Although again, I think part of that is these actors do know their roles fairly well, and so I think that they kind of elevate it a little bit. Although I'm sure some of it was on the page too. Like you said, John Logan's not a bad writer. It's just this is not a good example of his best work. But this right here though, it's just man. Sorry, I going back to this again. This bugs me.
Like I think that they would have been able to imagine if they'd been able to write it a little differently to where they knew about this nebula and there's issues with communications, but it's an odd reason why there's issues with the communications. It's not just there's our communications are just down because of the nebula. It's like there's something going on, specifically a celestial event or something.
Yeah.
That is interacting with the nebula that's causing problems with the communication.
Make it something.
Like, oh crap, we didn't take that into account.
Yeah, make it something that would have made sense for the Enterprise to somehow have been caught off guard by, other than this massive thing sitting here that could have easily been anticipated.
Mm-hmm. Oh, an interesting thing that I remember seeing as a kid, and I'm like, ooh, that's really neat, is that this is the first time in Star Trek that we see the shields
really tight to the hull.
Enrobing the ship. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like a big bubble. Yeah. I do appreciate that this is a very straightforward tactic, that of course you would try this, and I'm glad that they went for this, that, the idea of like, let's just start shooting. Just start shooting and see what happens. And like, okay, and that's again like,
but they shoot only on the x-axis.
yeah. Again, his three-dimensional he displays two-dimensional thinking.
He does.
Yes. Cuz the idea that the Shinzon, I keep calling it that. What is wrong with the scimitar? It's because they're both S's.
Sword, Brian.
I know. The idea that it also
The scimitar
has shields while it's cloaked. It's like just firing while cloaked is such an advantage, but to also have shields. Like, you could have made this battle much more interesting if you had given it something like that, right? Like, okay, it can fire, but its shields are down. Or if it needs shields while it's cloaked, it can't fire. Or create something where Shinzon has to use some tactical ability also, and have it be Picard versus Picard, like tactical ability, because he's got this advantage, but he still has to work through some kind of a limitation. I don't know. There's ways you could have made this battle more interesting. This also just like, okay, we're gonna like stop and have a conversation, and he's sitting down when he walks in, which, again, if you understand the physics of it, he would have had to have like staged this by sitting down on his ship and like perfectly overlapped it with Picard's chair, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit over dramatic, but he is a dramatic villain, I guess, because he pushes up, right? But then he walks to the desk. It just, anyways, it's a minor complaint.
Yeah, no,
but it's
that
funny.
bothered me even as a kid. That bothered me.
It's up there with the episode with Romulans, where Ro Laren and Geordi were like phased and cloaked, remember? But they didn't fall through the floor.
Right?
The floor is fine. It's just all the walls. Anyway.
That was not my favorite episode.
It had some fun moments. There's some good comedy.
I'm not a fan of Ro Laren. I thought that she was stupid. I didn't like her. I've never been a fan of the Bajorans, to be totally honest. I get what Deep Space Nine did with them.
Interesting. We need to talk about this.
I just never really liked the way they looked. I never really liked their characters. They always seemed like just mean-spirited characters.
Okay.
They're just kind of forced. Like, you're supposed to root for these people. Like, no. That's a me problem. I recognize
I do wish that they had, not that I think Picard should have been able to change Sinjon's mind, but I do think
it's the only time you pronounce that right, when you're calling the ship the name.
Yeah, I know. Shut up. But I wish there had been more of a conflict within him, portrayed a little bit more of a conflict, because this is a good conversation. Patrick Stewart delivers these lines really, really well. And I think that you could have created a little bit more of a where he considers it a tiny bit, or I don't know, has a little bit of an internal conflict about it. I mean, not that I think that I never would have changed his ultimate decision, but I think you could have given a little more nuance to him considering what might have been, type of a thing.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. No, I agree, but I think that they just really wanted a character whose hatred is so much that he'll never stop pursuing. He's the ultimate just predator. And like, I always found that a little strange. Like, he reacts so hostily to Picard's optimism.
Yeah. Because I think this is one of the best performances Patrick Stewart has in this movie. This whole scene, he really does a great job of just trying to appeal to him. And it's very in character for Picard to, like, let me appeal to you. Let me talk to you. Like, it's one of the most in character moments Picard has in this movie, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And just like that, the look on his face right there, it's a good scene, you know? Because I actually, and I'll start talking about it now a tiny bit, I do not like, and you might disagree with me on this, when we get to the end where
oh my god,
where Picard's on his ship and he, like, you know, impales him, and the whole, like, the fact that Picard, like, freezes up there and kind of is like literally the Enterprise is about to be destroyed. The Enterprise, everybody on it's about to die, and he, like, freezes, and Data finds him, like, locked up emotionally with dead Sinjin, right in front of him on the on the poorly made piece of decoration. That moment bugs me because I'm like, Picard would never have let, like, potentially his indecision in that moment, his lack of just snap out of it, and like would have, if Data hadn't been there, he would have killed everybody on the Enterprise. And that's not, to me, that's very out of character for Picard, because he wouldn't have been that caught off by watching his clone die. I truly don't think that would have paralyzed him the way that it does.
So there's actually a reason for it. It's not a good reason, but there is a reason for it. That scene was written specifically to mirror a scene from a book that was a King Arthur book, in which King Arthur kills his bastardized son, Mordred. Sir Thomas Mallory's Le Mort d'Arthur. On the battlefield of Arthur's last battle, the king runs a spear through Mordred, his evil illegitimate son, and with the last of his strength, Mordred impales himself even further onto the spear to be within striking distance of Arthur, and lands a mortal blow on Arthur's head. In addition, this scene plays out the same in the movie Excalibur, in which was Sir Patrick Stewart's first leading role. So that entire scene is a tribute to Patrick Stewart and a thingamajig, a symbol of Picard as Arthur, the aging hero, having to deal with his bastard son Mordred and having to kill him. I'm not saying it's good, but they did it for thematic reasons.
You know, it's a dumb reason, and it's a bad scene. That's all I got to say about it. I get the theme you're going for. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, the warbird is showing up. Also, too, are these warbirds like total pushovers, by the way?
Not total.
I mean,
but I love the scene where the wing breaks off and hits the Enterprise and it causes a bunch of damage.
It looks
and that,
phenomenal.
thing.
It looks phenomenal, but that warbird goes down like a chump.
I mean, it's a big jumping thing.
I'm just saying, Romulan warbirds, and this is like a new design, right? Romulan warbirds are supposedly just
great designs.
Oh, yeah, it's a great design, but like Romulan warbirds are supposed to be dangerous, and they
do you notice
really don't do anything in this scene.
Not really, no. Do you notice how much though they're like panning and quick panning around the warbird bridges whenever they have shots in there? You can't really see the whole bridge.
Well, it's a redress, I'm assuming, of something we would recognize.
It's because it's the same bridge of the Enterprise, just redressed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because this is the first Star Trek to ever do this. The bridge is built on a series of
they didn't check the camera.
Gimbals. Yeah, they're actually shaking the bridge for the first time. They're not just making them move.
Yeah. Okay, the scene coming up, and I'm jumping ahead a tiny bit, where they take out the front of the bridge. How the heck did he just like say, you know what? If Picard dies, he dies. Like, it does seem a little odd to target the bridge if you're really trying to keep Picard alive because you need his blood. It's one of those like.
I mean, maybe they're like, be watching out for Picard and let's beam him out of the vacuum. Maybe he can survive for as much as 3 minutes out there, you know?
Or, hoping the explosion does. I mean, like, it's a big, intense scene, but yeah. Also, too,
I like this, actually.
Yeah.
The whole, like, mental invasion thing isn't the worst idea on paper, and having her be able to use her specific empathetic powers in order to track down a cloaked ship, that's good.
Yeah. Thank goodness that everybody on the Scimitar, though, like, stopped and just kept staring at the Viceroy and, like, weren't, paying attention to their consoles or, like, moving the ship around at all. Like, Oh gosh.
Yeah.
We do have. I'm glad that we get a shot of the cool quantum torpedoes the Enterprise firing. Although we have a line later,
Ooh, yeah.
which doesn't happen, I think, ever in Star Trek. Even in Voyager, where that definitely should have happened, where like we've exhausted all of our torpedoes.
Yeah. Voyager fires something like 50 too many torpedoes, and supposedly they're unable to
Resupply.
replicate them again.
Well, they even
Ugh.
talk about being like having a limited supply in
Yeah.
the first season.
That was going to be like a huge plot point, but literally, they like you can find the writers in this. They were so annoyed because the whole thing was that despite Deep Space Nine being like legendary as the best Star Trek, right? Among many circles, I should say. A lot of people recognize that it's very high quality. Some people were upset at how dark and how like linear the storytelling was. They didn't really like the non-episodic structure. They got a lot of complaints and write-ins, and they thought that maybe they shouldn't do that with Voyager. So literally Paramount went to them and said, don't do what you did with Deep Space Nine, just turn it into Next Generation. We just want Next Generation. And so they scrapped all these plans that Voyager had for long-term storytelling that was going to take place over the course of episodes, very much like Deep Space Nine, and replaced it with just an episodic format. So sad.
Yeah.
So much.
There he is.
Lost opportunity. Yeah,
There was Bryan Singer right there.
Hopefully he gets the one who gets sucked out of the front of the ship and dies in the cold vacuum of space.
And it's interesting here. So you have Worf, and I get that they. I mean, okay, on paper, I'm assuming this is probably what you would do, right? They would have Riker be the one who fights the Viceroy because you want Deanna's husband to be the one who confronts the man who raped her, essentially, right? Is that kind of what we were going for there?
Mm-hmm.
It's weird that they didn't give Worf a good beat here, because you feel like this is a scene made for Worf to have a good moment, right?
No, exactly. I again, this is probably budgetary. And there's all kinds of constraints. In a perfect world, if you're able to have this scene, what you do is you have Riker able to justly pursue the man who mentally raped his wife and be able to, give him the pounding he needs and kill him and tear his spine out and hang it on your wall. And then you have Worf, because this is the best scene Worf gets, is laying down this covering fire and killing like 6 Remans. Great. Give him a fight. Put him right in there. Have some stupid plot contrivance about how, maybe we can knock out their weapons somehow. And so it's all hand to hand. And he just goes in there and lays waste to these Remans. And you have this glorious moment of him just repelling a boarding party like single-handedly, like he's a Spartan at Thermopylae.
Yeah.
But again, it's probably budget.
Yeah. And I don't even mind Riker being the one that challenges the Viceroy. The way that they built this part of the ship and they end up over a chasm, it's very cliche, and it doesn't match the Enterprise's layout at all. And
no, they should have gotten him. You know what they could have used? That observatory from First Contact, and he could have blown him out a hatch.
Here you go. Now this again, I don't.
This is good.
Oh, this is a fantastic scene. It just doesn't make any sense with Shinzon's plan.
Did it have the line of him targeting the bridge?
No, he just said target
I think it was
Beta 3 or whatever. He says target Beta 3 or whatever, and then all disruptors fire, which is after that line it shows them shooting the back of the ship. Then it shows, and I approve, they show shields are down, the ventral shields are down, and then they say, "Oh, we were able to beam on then," which makes sense because if the shields are down, then you get to beam on. Okay, Deanna gets to fly again, and what does she do? Granted, it's by orders this time, but she still immediately crashes the ship. I just, you got to point that out, right? Every time Deanna flies, she crashes the ship.
So I will say that is kind of an incidental thing of battle that the bridge got blown open. But it was also just to set up this really awesome scene.
Yeah. Okay, you never read Federation, right? The novel?
Not that I'm aware of. I
Okay.
read a lot of Star Trek books, but most of them kind of blended
So
together after a bit.
Federation was the one where Picard and it had the Zefram Cochrane chapters with Colonel Thorson. It also had Picard.
No.
Okay, so there is a scene.
Colonel Foreskin?
No, Thorson. Thorson. Shut up. You just. Anyways, there is a scene, and I wonder if it was even if they were aware of it. But there is a scene where the Enterprise D rams a warbird, and it actually goes through how this very specific set of circumstances allows the Enterprise to basically ram a warbird and come out almost unscathed because of proximity and relative velocity, and it goes into how the structural integrity field, that's designed for warp, and the stresses of warp allows, if the other ship is not. I mean, it goes this whole thing, and the Enterprise D literally destroys a warbird in that book by ramming it, and
which is just cool.
It is cool. And so in this one, though, okay, this scene, though, it's beautifully shot. And the idea that this is a desperate move, I'm okay with. But when
and the grim dark engage, he gets to use his tagline.
Yeah. When also the Enterprise's acceleration here is a little bit too slow, I think. I actually think that it should have, if you understand impulse engines, it would have.
Yeah,
I almost think
full
this is
impulse on my mark. That's slamming on the gas,
Yeah.
I love the stupid look on this Reeman's face, though, as they
Like,
start to move.
what?
By the way, all of the ships were digital in this movie, except for this sequence.
But what I don't like about this scene is when the scimitar reverses.
Mm-hmm.
Was the Enterprise at station keeping? Was the Enterprise also reverse thrustering? Because if it was just kind of not dead in the water, but if it wasn't, if its engines weren't doing anything, the scimitar reversing just would have taken the Enterprise with it. It wouldn't have pulled off. I mean, if you had enough force for it to be carving the hull, like those claw marks in the hull when it reverses, if you have that much tension between the two hulls, the scimitar reversing would have just taken the Enterprise with it. It totally breaks physics.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the scimitar's at rest. It plunges into it. It's not big enough to push the scimitar that far.
Yeah,
I feel like they would have needed to cut engines at one point, or some system in the Enterprise was damaged enough that it automatically cut engines, which could theoretically be overridden.
Overridden. It's a good shot right here, though. Just the hull just buried in that thing.
Them locked together. See, imagine a more competent film where they're tumbling, where it's not just them locked together, but they're locked together and moving through space in a weird turning, twisting thing, and kind of tearing each other apart.
Yeah, see this is where again, unless the Enterprise is also reversing, this is not how this would go. And
man, this makes me want to read a Star Trek book, though. I think I'll read The Return. I'm trying to stay off my phone at night, and I think I need to read more before bed instead of being on my phone.
Okay, just for kicks, if you can find it cheap or anything, try. Or you know what? I should just lend it to you next time I see you. I would be curious what you think of the book Federation, because
You're 1,000 miles away.
I know. No, I'm 600 miles away, but I am. This is not a plan or a promise yet, but I am genuinely trying to figure out a way to make it up on the 13th
of August.
No, of September for Terran's.
Oh, right. Oh my God, Terran.
Because she asked if Jen and I could make it. I don't.
She's gonna listen to this.
I know. Well, no, and I mean she already texted us. This isn't a surprise. I don't know if Jen can make it, but I'm gonna try to make it up for that get together. But yeah, what is he falling into?
Bye, Ron Perlman. Where's he going?
That is a deep pit.
Is this the trash compactor? Why is there a pit that deep? I just don't understand where.
And there's literally there is
function.
no room on the Enterprise for anything that deep. It physically there's no
flat.
space. Yeah.
And it's just it can't be a turbo lift corridor because there's a bridge across it.
That's similar to Well, it's similar to that scene in Discovery when they get out of the turbolift, right? And they somehow are like, in open space or whatever on the Discovery. Where it's just like,
Oh my
where is
gosh.
this? Where,
I
where
actually
on the
really
ship
like
are they?
Discovery Season 3. I think that Discovery Season 3 did some amazing things until they biffed it with their final episode, revealing the burn was just a crying child. But that scene of where it's just like suddenly there's all this empty space inside the freaking thing. Like, how big is the Discovery? Is this thing part TARDIS?
Yeah.
Retardis?
And Tom Hardy there's a intense makeup job on him with his eyes.
Yeah. He looks so goopy.
Yeah.
And the red around his eyes.
The scar
And,
on
like,
his
him
lip has gotten all
accepting his
red.
death,
yeah.
you know? Ugh.
Yeah.
It's just this stupid looking Freeman. He looks like Rom.
Now, with the damage the Enterprise just caused to the Scimitar here,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that this is something that would be on his mind at this point, but man, typing with those nails. Would the Scimitar really like be able to make it to Earth? Like, would the kind of damage the Enterprise just did to it?
Maybe. Oh, I just read something really interesting. Do you know who else really like auditioned for the role of Shinzon, but actually really wanted it?
Who?
An actor by the name of James Marsters.
Oh, that would
Are
have
you
been
familiar
interesting.
with James Marsters?
Oh yeah,
Brian?
of course I am. What are you talking about?
He's my current favorite pick. If they ever did, if they decide to do another Batman, he should totally play Alfred.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Mm-hmm. For those of you who don't know, James Marsters is most famous for his role on Buffy the Vampire Slayer as the vampire Spike.
Here's your
And he's pretty
lionfish.
great. Yeah, very, very lionfish. It's actually the Romulan warbird Cece.
Oh
Karen
man,
will like that.
they do. I will give them that. Unlike in Insurrection, they keep the scale between the Enterprise and the Scimitar pretty accurate throughout this.
Mm-hmm. I
Like,
think they learned from the mistakes of the
Yeah.
scale with the collector in the last one. Oh, I also like the debris that's just scattered over Geordi.
Yeah, because the bridge is, it's been in rough. It's had a rough day. The bridge has.
Yeah, he's not having a great time.
Although I will say too, when the bridge got destroyed, you got to talk to those force field guys. You got to get that thing up faster. The emergency force field activation subroutine or whatever it is.
Right? Like, surely the ship's AI should be handling that.
Yeah. This whole I do, as much as it's a tiny bit of a cliche, just like the transporter's breaking. I do love that like Geordi's console up on the bridge shorts. And apparently there's no other transporters anywhere on the ship. There's no shuttles with transporters. There's no cargo transporters. It's all one system going through that console, and that's it. No more transporters anywhere. It's just...
At a comic convention in 2007, Michael Shanks of Stargate fame revealed that he read for the role of Praetor Shinzon.
Really? Oh, that would have been
That
interesting.
would have been awful.
Yeah.
Michael Shanks is good, but he's not this kind of actor.
No, he's not. He's really, really not. But oh yeah, this is. I mean, now again, I think this is great. I think the idea that like we saw an Insurrection Data underwater. In this one, we see that yeah, of course, Data could be in a vacuum; he'd be fine. So
yeah. I really liked this scene, actually. This is one of my favorite scenes because everything about this kind of makes sense. Like the running start because of the conservation of momentum that you'd be dealing with in this situation. Like the look between him and Geordi is really good.
Well,
they don't give Geordi almost
friends.
anything else to do in this movie.
Yeah.
And they both kind of know that this is Data going to his death. And like
Enterprise
and having the
rough
music
there.
be a little bit more uplifting and stuff like that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is.
I hate the design of the Thaleron weapon. It's so spiky and DNA-ish and pulsy. It just looks like a video game thing that you have to shoot in order to knock a door down so you can keep going.
Yeah, it looks generic to me.
In one of the original drafts, the whole thing was going to be that there was a warp core was actually on the bridge of the ship, or that the bridge of the ship was in the engine room. And that was going to be the whole thing. So that way there was this big dramatic thing around the warp core, and it causes a warp core destabilization. And it was the dude, Rick Berman, who was like, no, that's not how any of this works, and vetoed it.
The music here in general is pretty good, honestly. I mean, again, it's Jerry Goldsmith, so there's no big surprise. The music is good. Of course,
I think
man, Picard gets a bunch of like big action set piece. I mean, like he gets driving. He gets the escape where he's dual wielding a hand one. Then he gets to drive the fighter. Then he gets this whole scene. Like Picard gets a couple of big action beats in this movie for sure.
I know it's budgetary, but in my head, I could just imagine so much better of a thing here. Like, I'm not even gonna dwell on it too much.
Yeah.
But imagine if it was more than just Picard. What if the whole thing here was like almost like a team invasion for some reason? Like, for some reason they're all like, we're all gonna go die and stop this Thaleron weapon to save the ship and stuff like that. And you have kind of everybody involved and able to do something, but it's supposed to be this big personal thing between the two of them, and you'd be able to have a giant shaft somewhere in the scimitar. It'd be a much better venue to kill the Viceroy. Kick him down a shaft in the scimitar. I don't know. I'm mad at this movie because it's not good.
No, it's not. But it's
good enough moments in it.
Yeah,
it's sad that it's bad.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like there's enough here where you're like, there is a version of this movie that it could have been very good. This movie just is not.
Star Trek 5 has a lot of funny bad.
This whole like unsheath of this thing makes me think this is very much of its era. Just the like, oh, it's all spiky and gluey and green and just the
and rings.
And this knife is very it has a really cool silhouette though. I think it was on the posters. He's holding it over his head on the poster, and it's got a very distinct silhouette to it, which is kind of cool. It's not symmetrical,
it was on the posters.
Which is, like it's a knife that's not symmetrical.
It reminds me of something that you're going to find at the mall in the late 1990s and early 2000s that has a slightly opalescent view, like sheen to it, that if you actually bought it, it's utterly like, crap.
Tactical
as an actual knife,
Chinesium.
Cool. Yeah, tactical Chinesium. The mall ninjas. Do you
the mall
era
ninja.
Of the mall ninja.
Yeah. So this is one of those, like, they literally have the computer yelling out and Picard being paralyzed here. I get a moment of it. I'm not like, I'm not saying that he shouldn't have even had like a moment here of just like, oh my goodness. But that Picard's reaction here, and I think this is where, they had a theme they're going for, but also they just wanted Data, right, to have his moment. They needed Data to sacrifice, and Picard. But I just, this bothers me immensely. Maybe more than it should, but it does.
No, you're totally right. It's not good.
Oh man, he's so goopy. It's such a great makeup job on his head. Just Like, right. Oh, okay. So at this moment, it's just, and I get that they're going, well, Data needs to kind of go up and have this moment where I do appreciate that they kind of didn't let Picard get to really react to, like, Data basically just beams and Picard doesn't even get like to say goodbye or no or anything, that there's basically just the trend. But even right here, it's just like, I mean, what is wrong with Picard?
Yeah. It's like they had previously established this little site-to-site transporter, so that's
they didn't come out of nowhere.
Reasonable.
Oh, goodbye there. I do think Brent Spiner nailed that line. Now here, the fact that they do make him wait until it literally says 1 before he fires,
right?
2, like
you need the drama. Do you remember what they said in Galaxy Quest?
It always waits till 1.
It always waits till 1. Which, by the way, Galaxy Quest actually fixes this movie's problems. Do you know why?
Because it makes this an odd numbered.
Because if you count Galaxy Quest, which came out in between Insurrection and this, suddenly Galaxy Quest, counting as a Star Trek, makes this an odd numbered Star Trek movie.
Oh goodness! Now I Yeah. How far away, by the way, was the Enterprise from that explosion? Because the Enterprise didn't even get like rocked by that explosion, right?
Right? And why would destroying that weapon destroy the whole ship?
It overloaded, Zach. See, there was an energy feedback loop that it had to go back to the warp core because that's where it was getting its power from, and there was
I
this
have an energy
feedback loop from
feedback
the
loop in
hand
my lower
phaser.
intestine.
Anyways, I'm just, oh,
Yeah.
I do
There's some
like just
good
that.
moments here. There's
Yeah.
some
Oh no.
good moments
Again, this movie has a lot of good performances. It really does. As much as a lot of Picard's moments, I'm not on board with. Patrick Stewart is still doing a great job. Has some great scenes. I mean, that little turn there of Deanna going to just it's Data, and that's all she needs to say, and Riker immediately understands, and Geordi's reaction, to just realizing that his. I mean, because a lot of people, I think that these movies, if you hadn't been following the show, you wouldn't have understood that Data and Geordi were like best friends, right? And so
Mhm.
this would have been almost harder on Geordi than anybody else, even though obviously it would have been hard on everybody. Um,
And I don't think Jordy even has another line in there.
no, it's interesting that they have. I love the callback to Pop Goes the Weasel from Encounter at Farpoint when they have the little funeral scene later. But I
Mhm.
do wish that Geordi had had a line there because I mean they do accurately reference that Riker's the one who was there in that scene in the pilot. But Geordi needed a line in that scene. He needed a memory. He needed something.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because, like, again, part of it is just how much I love LeVar Burton in the role as Jordy. Um, that like I just wanted him to have so much more, and he meant so much to Data, and he just doesn't get anything here at the
No,
end.
Chateau Picard.
Did you ever see the thing about the theory that Chateau Picard is just terrible wine,
Oh really?
and
That's
they're
what.
all just like pretending to be good at it?
There was a
It's a
tiny,
really
tiny continuity error here where if you looked in the wide shot earlier there, Worf doesn't have a glass, and then he just does, and Picard didn't hand him one. I mean, it's like totally minor, but there is a tiny continuity thing there. Um,
yeah.
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
this did
cry.
as much
So
as
sad.
as again, I think every character death in Star Trek has like tried to, including obviously Into Darkness, has tried to capture that scene between Kirk and Spock in the end of Wrath of Khan, and none of them have quite lived up to it. This was effective. I mean, I remember in theaters, as much as I didn't like this movie, when I saw this for the first time, like this definitely did move me because Data's beloved. I mean, I love Data as much as I'm complaining about the movie. I love Data, and his death did matter.
Yeah.
I wish they had kept the deleted scene of showing the Enterprise repaired. And okay, who is the actress that played the first officer, or was it an actor?
It was an actor.
Okay,
An
it was
actor.
somebody pretty well known, I think. And then they had the little seatbelts finally moment, right? Wasn't that a deleted scene?
Yes.
Am I crazy?
There was a deleted scene in which is showing the repair. You're introduced to the new first officer. And
Who
there
was
was
that? Do you remember?
let me find out.
I'm looking it up.
Talk about something.
No, you talk about something. I'm looking it up.
No, I'm looking it up first.
Oh,
Ugh.
all right, fine. No, it's I I like the that this was a good the Titan. I do wish that we had seen the Titan in live action because the
Mhm.
design is kind of cool. I think you see it in Lower Decks, don't you? Isn't the Titan on Lower Decks?
Yes, the Titan is on Lower Decks. It actually plays a big part in Lower Decks, and it's great. And then we see the Titan 2 in Picard season 3.
Oh, Stephen Kulip plays the first officer. Who he's famous for. He was one of the Mako guys in Star Trek Enterprise. He's also played a villain a lot of times.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking for that.
Yeah,
I
he's
literally
he's
pulled
gonna
it
be the
up.
first off. He's a great character actor, and again, he's got a little Star Trek pedigree. I think the
Mhm.
Makos were underused in Enterprise. I wish they had been used a little
Oh
better.
yeah, well they were clearly based on the Elite Force,
Oh yeah, yeah,
the Hazard teams from Voyager's
yeah.
game.
The idea of a Star Trek SWAT team, especially back in that era where Starfleet and the Earth military were separate still, was kind of a cool idea too. Just like a little peek into a reminder that the organizational level was different at that time. Man, Yeah, there was. Anyway, we talk about Enterprise for a while because for all of its failings, it also had some cool stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, so this is though again, I before, and this is to a much. I mean, this isn't nearly as egregious as Into Darkness, but the idea that you kill a character, but you, and I mean, it's legendary. Nicholas Meyer didn't want any like hope at the end of Wrath of Khan, right? He wanted Spock to be dead. He didn't want the torpedo shot at the end, the remember line being put in the, he was like, no, Spock's dead. And but even with those little hints, right? The end of Wrath of Khan, they don't immediately go. I mean, because we're so far removed from it, we know Spock comes back. But again, if you take it in isolation, that movie does not immediately hand you the "don't worry, it's all going to be fine." But so many character deaths since then, they won't wait until the next movie to get into that. They won't wait for they want to give you the immediate like, oh, it's going to be okay. There's a solution here, and they have it here with before singing, blue 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 sky. It's like, oh, maybe his memories are fine. Or obviously, Into Darkness is so egregious that Kirk's back to life within what 7 minutes or something of his death.
Yeah.
It's not wanting to commit to the death, and I get to this kind of a touching scene, and again, Brent Spiner's doing a fantastic job acting here, but I wish this wasn't here. I wish Data had just been gone. I think this actually lessens it a tiny bit, at least for me personally. I mean, you might feel differently, but for me, it lessens it a little bit.
And there's even people who think that this is like it's this weird thing where instead of it was supposed to represent B4 like finding his own like future, but it just comes across as like Data's just like possessing him almost.
Yeah,
And it's actually almost like a terrible fate for B4. Um and there's so many things like that about it that's like kind of troubling when you think about it. In things like the countdown comic that they put out just before um
oh nine,
Star Trek 2009, which is about this crew leading up to the supernova that destroyed Romulus, that was the big thing um in the 2009 Star Trek. And it has showing like Geordi creating the squid ship with the red matter,
yeah,
and showing actually that B4 had fully evolved into like a Data clone, and Data was captain of the Enterprise F.
yep.
um Stuff like that, you know.
And that comic is it canon anymore? I think.
No.
Yeah, but to say it was kind of considered canon for a minute, but then didn't Picard basically nullify a lot of it?
Yes.
The show?
Nullified all of it, in fact.
Yeah, yeah. Because so a weird thing about that comic is that is the first comic series that I remember reading fully digitally, where I had it and I read it all online.
Hmm.
But okay, so we've just finished, you know, the kind of this era, right? The 90s Star Trek era of film. So we may have done this before, but what is your personal ranking of the first 10 Star Trek films if you had to put them in order from worst to best?
Oh, first 10?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's think about this, shall we? I don't know why I'm suddenly Canadian. um Oh my goodness. Okay, first 10. Like my personal enjoyment or
No,
actually good
no,
films?
this is all of your biases included. Yours and my lists are going to be different, and that's fine. This is not objective. This is you.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we're looking at the first 10 Star Trek films. I'm going to go ahead and say it's going to go First Contact, Wrath of
Oh, you're going best to
Khan.
worst. Okay, I was going to go
Oh
worst to
yeah.
best, but no, go ahead. No, keep
Uh
going. First Contact, Wrath of Khan.
Undiscovered Country, um Voyage Home, Generations,
Really?
Search for Spock, mm, Motion Picture, Insurrection, Nemesis, Final Frontier.
Okay. See, for me, it's always interesting whenever I think about it. Insurrection and Nemesis, like where to like which one's a little. I depending on when you ask me, those can flop because they're both equally. Yeah,
Like good, bad.
yeah. It's for because for me, okay, and I'm gonna go worst to best. And again, this is totally me personally. If I really had to, I I probably would put this above Insurrection by a hair, and it's entirely because I enjoyed the space battles more. Like I'm just that like the little kid part of me
No,
that
I
like
was literally thinking about that.
yeah, that is
Also,
they're both bad movies, but I think I would do Insurrection as my least favorite. I think then Nemesis, then Star Trek 5. I think as much as I love parts of it,
actually, you know what?
go ahead.
Recent review, in my own mind of watching this, I think I would put Insurrection at the bottom because of how much it like betrays Star Trek at its core.
Yeah. Yeah, I said Insurrection worst, right? That's what I meant to
Yeah.
say. Okay, yeah. So, and that's fair. So yeah, it's for me, it's worst to best. Insurrection, Nemesis, Final Frontier. Then after that, it does get a little bit trickier for me. I think I would probably go Generations, then Motion Picture, then. And again, I'm sorry, Zach. This is just my personal. We've talked about this many times. Then for me, it's First Contact, and then it's probably I'd probably say Voyage Home, Undiscovered Country, Search for Spock, and Wrath of Khan. I know Search for Spock is crazy high for me, and I totally get anybody who disagree with that. And I don't even think that you're wrong. I have such a personal connection with that movie. I love it so much
No,
that it's
Search for
just
Spock has a lot of really good moments. It's just
I
it has
I
some weird
fully
failings,
yeah
you know.
I fully acknowledge that objectively, just objectively, I would not put it that high. But the character moments in 3 connected with me so deeply, and the death of the Enterprise was so well handled in that movie in my mind, and it affected me so much as a kid.
And your influence on me has affected my affection for that movie. It's
Aw.
just not one that
No, it's
I'm just going to go back to a lot, you
yeah,
know?
and that's totally fair. Like I said, I think I almost like personal, like you said, ranking in general. I actually think trying to objectively rank films is almost a foolhardy exercise because you're trying to do something that art is inherently kind of not capable of, which is exist in a vacuum.
Are you sure? Because I can pretty easily rank like the Star Wars movies.
I'm not saying that there isn't objectively worse and better, but I think that you hit a category of good where it's almost impossible to take the person out of it. There's definitely worse stuff. There's definitely better stuff. But I think the idea that there is an objectively best film ever made, I actually reject that premise. There's too many movies.
I wholeheartedly agree on that. Wholeheartedly agree on that.
And
but
so
I think that there is an objective like best Star Trek movie ever made, like or Star Wars, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's things.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah. It's once for me. Once you get to First Contact in Star Trek, I love them all. At that point, it's entirely just personal preference. So I think that they're all solid. And I objectively, I would put Search for Spock down in like the mid tier, but I just love it. But anyways, that's And then Galaxy Quest for me, just like as a bonus, and then I'll rank this for me and then go back to you. I'd probably put Galaxy Quest right between like what did I say? Motion Picture and then First Contact is I think what I said. I would slot Galaxy Quest as better, obviously, than the Motion Picture, which I love that, but below First Contact still. So it's like that's the transition from Trek that is like either objectively bad or even though it's bad, I still enjoy it, to objectively good. I'd put it right in that transition.
Yeah.
But what about you? For
I'd put it up there too. Like just looking at it, I think that Galaxy Quest is better than Generations.
Yes.
So yeah, just about that.
Okay, that's fair. Well, we've done it.
There's no fixing this movie. I like to sit there and ask, like, how would you fix it? It's just there's no fixing this movie. This is a back to drawing board movie.
Yeah, you
can
have
fix
to
Insurrection. This is a back to drawing board movie.
Yeah. And you would have to change. You have to change. I think the entire. And if you, and this might be controversial, whatever, because again, he's a great actor, but I think that you recast Tom Hardy with somebody else.
Yeah, preferably Jude Law, in my opinion.
Yeah, if you really decided we've got to do, clone young Picard, you get a different actor. So yeah, but you know what? It's always a pleasure watching Star Trek with you, my friend. So I will still
heck yeah, dude.
Take that.
I know it's going to be about another year, but I'm really looking forward to getting the 2009 Star Treks.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to those episodes. Yeah. And actually,
that's one of those things where for some reason we had to stop doing this podcast. Life, kids, something, whatever. I would actually ask that we do a couple of special ones.
Yeah.
Those ones are on
there. Yeah, there are a handful of films that I agree. I'd be like, okay, we gotta do a few personally important movies to us, especially both of us. So, but with that, next week we're any kind of tease for next week. We're definitely not doing more Star Trek next week.
No, you're not doing more Star Trek. You go ahead and give it.
Because we are jumping from Star Trek back into another. Okay. This is a weird. Nobody's gonna understand what this means. My daughter was playing 20 questions with me about episodes that we had recorded, and she gave me the hint that this is, and these are the hints that I missed about this franchise. She said, yes, this is a franchise. Yes, this is science fiction. The movie she was referring to takes place on Earth, not in the future. And she was referring to the first movie in this franchise. And I missed it because I just totally spaced on the idea that it was science fiction, because I think of this franchise much more in an action setting than I do a science fiction setting. So at least when you go back to the very first one. So that's my super weird set of clues for the franchise we're going back to next.
What?
That didn't make sense to you perfectly?
Yeah. No, it didn't.
Oh, well,
we're
the movie
watching Predators.
Oh, wow. So the first Predator movie, okay, now I got to explain it. The first Predator movie, she was like, okay, it's a science fiction franchise. It's the first movie in the franchise, but it doesn't, I asked her, I said, is it take place, on Earth or somewhere in space? Like, no, it's on Earth. I'm like, is it in the future somewhere? No, it's not in the future. I'm like, are there guns in it? Yeah, they are. Like, are there future guns where they shoot? And she's like, oh, she did miss that there was a plasma caster. So she said, no, it's just like regular modern guns. So she missed one thing because she hasn't seen it in a long time. But I missed Predator in 20 questions. I felt very ashamed of myself. But this movie that we're doing next absolutely takes place on another planet. So, anyways.
Yes, it does. And I'm really excited to do this movie. It's going to be a great one. Come back for it.
Come back for it. Have a good night.
There's doors and corners, kid. If you don't clear the room, if you don't come in slow,